Okay, I'm going to state the obvious a little bit here, but when you play pro sports in Boston, you are playing in front of a pretty tough crowd. There is the 17 NBA championships for the Celtics. There's the 4 titles in the last 15 seasons for the Red Sox. And of course, there's the Patriots with 5 Super Bowls of their own in this millennium. If Tom Brady can make it 6 this Sunday, where does that put his seat at the table of Boston sports icons? Here's Keith Olbermann. All season long, Lou Riddick joins us every Sunday with his 3 big storylines that he's watching for the week. Wildcard weekend is no different, so tell us what you're looking at today.
Well, today it's all about the big men. Look, I know the NFL right now is really a lot is focused on the quarterback play and the perimeter players because that's what's fun, that's what fantasy driven. But I'm telling you, today it's going to be about the big men. And that's
really kind of what this matchup is, right? A lot of people talking about Phillip Rivers being 37 and Lamar Jackson being 21, but it's instant success on one side versus a guy who's taken his lumps since Lamar Jackson's been in middle school. Lou Riddick.
All kinds of school records.
Yeah, school records that Nick Foles promptly broke at Westlake. Yeah, he didn't get a state title, but semantics.
All right, great. Well, Drew Brees was a hero in New Orleans. One of the Saints' first Super Bowl over Peyton Manning and the Colts, and he was named Super Bowl MVP.
Right. Shocker that a Hall of Famer would carry his team to a title. Definitely less shocking than a career backup winning Super Bowl MVP by outperforming the greatest quarterback of all time. Got it.
All right, well, Brees made kids during championship celebrations famous. Who could forget his sweet son, Balin, 1-year-old at the time, and those headphones during that confetti? That was cute.
Adorable. 2 words. Lily Foles.
You know what I see?
What?
A lot of copycatting. Here's one more comparison. They play each other today on a football field in the playoffs. Here's Sal Paolantonio.
It's going to be highlighted by the main event, Henry Cejudo looking to retain his flyweight belt against TJ Dillashaw, a man who dropped 29 pounds in 12 weeks to make weight. If you're wondering how he did that, here's a direct quote from Dillashaw on the matter. "I'm a little insane, but it's nothing it takes for a bantamweight champ who can make history by going down a weight class to win a 2nd belt." UFC Destin chronicles the journeys of both superstars.
Saturday, Elle Duncan and Matt Berry here for the next 2 hours. There are those that call this weekend the greatest weekend in football. Colts, Chiefs, Cowboys, Rams are going to get it kicked off. We'll get you ready for it.
We will. There are also those that say that even the Murray State sensation with another stupid dunk coming up, see why Ja rules the rim, at least currently. We're not always here when you call, but we are always on time. Elle Duncan, Matt Berry holding you down on your Friday morning.
Yeah, what in the world is in that room, what you got in that room? With LeBron cleared to practice next week, the young Lakers may have grown up last night against the...
I mean, listen, in all fairness, to that Rams secondary, at that game, there was no Aqib Talib. He's back now for this one. So if you're the Saints, how do you imagine they're going to approach this matchup with Aqib Talib in the fold along with Marcus Peters?
Yeah, you're not going to see the same thing because what Sean Payton noticed that first time was Marcus Peters was traveling. What I mean by that is he was going wherever Mike Watson, those type of receivers, I think will be big in this game.
God, they have so many weapons. Listen, you won a few Super Bowls on the Patriots defense, so coming up, you'll tell them and the rest of the world how they can stop or at least slow down that Chiefs offense. That's coming up in just a little bit.
On that.
Yeah, we'll do a little touchscreen action on that.
48. Teddy Bruschi wants none of that.
I know.
Give me that. Bring that. Come on,
You're all about it, right?
You
Yeah.
don't.
Especially playing in the balmy conditions of New England. It actually looks like that game dodged a bit of a bullet not being in Boston and rather being in Kansas City. But Teddy Bruschi is back with us. Speaking of cold, Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill were cold-blooded in that last matchup with the Patriots, combining for 200 receiving yards. How do you think that the Patriots will plan for them this time around?
Well, I'll revisit that. You're sacrificing pass rush for pass route disruption. And that's what you want to do to get a young quarterback that's comfortable with just throwing to his favorite target, get him off his read, gives the rush a little bit more time, and you can possibly have success.
This could possibly be the last game for Brian Flores, right? The linebackers coach for the Patriots. Maybe a win-one for the Gipper moment for a Patriots team.
They love B-Flow.
They love B-Flow. And they would love to have not dropped 4 straight conference championships on the road. The undercard thing, if you will. Tom Brady. Thanks, Teddy Bruschi. Now, Dan Orlovsky going to break down what is now Lamar Jackson's team, but there are some things he needs to improve on, and that was very evident in that playoff game. So what would you focus on if you're Lamar?
I mean, outside of making sure he's got to avoid taking all those hits, the big thing for him as a thrower is you cannot miss layups. In the NFL, when guys
for the Ravens and how they essentially handcuffed him in that playoff game. But again, if accuracy was an issue for them, that's probably why they tried to keep him a little bit contained. Dan Orlovsky joining us all morning long on SportsCenter. Breakdown NFL. Getting you primed for UFC Fight Night on ESPN. And former heavyweight champion Cain Velasquez returning to the Octagon Sunday night against powerhouse Francis Ngannou in Phoenix. Home cooking for Velasquez, who was raised in Yuma, Arizona, before becoming a 2-time All-American wrestler at Arizona State. Our Brett Okamoto spent some time with the 36-year-old to learn more about his much anticipated return to the cage. Duncan. That is Randy Scott. Something happened, Randy, on the PGA Tour that hasn't in 5 years. We'll tell you in a minute how that affects Tiger Woods.
Yes. But we start with the NBA because the last game before the All-Star break can get weird. Pelicans had no business.
The winter of Nick Foles, that's what I'm dubbing it anyway. Yes. Teddy Bruschi joining us this morning because, of course, on Tuesday is when the Eagles and all other teams can designate their players for the franchise tag or in transition. So with that being said, we heard from Dan Graziano earlier today say that this is actually one of the first times that the supply of quarterbacks doesn't actually meet the demand. There isn't a huge demand. So with that being said, if you're the Eagles, how would you evaluate the value of Nick Foles?
Well, if the Eagles are evaluating, I mean, he's a quarterback that brought you.
Could bring to a team, but be a little more specific for me and tell me where you think the best fit for him is.
Well, I like common sense when it comes.
I don't want to say quarterbacks are spoon-fed, but I'm going to say quarterbacks are spoon-fed. Teddy Bruschi.
Keep him happy.
He's going to be hanging out here all day on SportsCenter. We'll also see you at NFL Live, 1:30 Eastern on ESPN. Thanks, Teddy.
Thanks, Elle.
Well, no. Oh, okay. No. You have to stay put. Stay put. We still have an hour to go on this program. It is 9 a.m. That one's just for Daly, our producer.
Yeah, that was definitely
9 a.m. in the East.
We are bouncing. There was lots of bouncing happening yesterday. NBA Rise Day joining us from Rupp Arena because we are going to get Kentucky taking on top-ranked Tennessee. And we'll get to that game in just a minute, Coach, but I do want to talk back about what's happening with Duke facing NC State today. When you look at Tuesday and you see that they did something that hasn't happened in 39 years under Coach K, how they make history happen. They certainly were, which is why it's funny that we're going from a team that has absolutely been dominated by freshmen to a Tennessee team that is the top-ranked team in the country and hasn't had a single point from a freshman this season. Take that one and done. But they'll, of course, face a pretty tough conference opponent in Kentucky. So I want you to strap your coaching hat back on, Coach, and give me the pregame speech from both coaches to your team. By the way, Coach also gave
fired up, Elle?
I'm very fired up. Well, I'm fired up because
checking.
You gave a pregame speech to Jay Will yesterday, your game day colleague ahead of the All-Star Celebrity Game. We're actually going to talk to Jay Will. We'll see your pregame speech. That's coming up. College Game Day and the rest of the crew, 11 a.m. Eastern right here on ESPN. Thanks, Coach.
Rob Mendez was born with a condition so rare it affects less than 100 people around the world. But it did not keep him from his calling, which is coaching a sport that he himself has never actually been able to play.
This week, SportsCenter featured chronicles Mendez's first season as a head football coach, capturing the inspiring and unlikely story of a coach who transformed a group of young athletes from skeptics into believers.
Wow. Story,
right? So while several schools recently notified Mendez of varsity head coaching openings, he has decided to not interview for them. Mendez says he's unfinished business with his JV team at Prospect.
Absolutely amazing. For more on his journey, head to ESPN Plus for the full documentary, which is streaming now. You can also read Wayne Dre's profile on Mendez Monday on ESPN.com, and then ESPN, the magazine, has an even further in-depth look at his journey.
That DeAndre Jordan face, some of the best dunks of all time, paving the way for a new generation of rim stuffers. Thanks to Will, straight off of the All-Star Celebrity Game. We will get into that in just a minute. But, of course, we've got Tennessee looking to extend their franchise record or their program record, 19-game win streak. What matchup are you looking forward to in this one?
It's the matchup of the big.
This is a matchup of ideas as well, right? You've got Coach Cal and his one-and-done show taking on a Tennessee team that hasn't had a single point from a freshman all year long. That, of course, is coming up, as is College Game Day. However, let's give the good people what they want. Yesterday, Jay Will in Charlotte in the Celebrity Game, and he got a little bit of a pep talk from his coach and colleague, Seth Greenberg. So for Quavo to say, I don't want to guard famous Los, I want to guard Jay Williams. Did that not hurt a little bit?
No. There's nothing that Quavo could say that can hurt my confidence. Trust me.
I'm on TV all the time.
With all due respect to Quavo, I love it.
At 20 years old and just 55 games into his NBA career, Luka Doncic has already made a huge impact on the association. From the small European nation of Slovenia to squaring up with the game's elite, cool hand Luka sat down with our Rachel Nichols to talk about his transition to the NBA and his new teammate, Kristaps Porzingis. We do have the latest on the Robert Kraft scandal that's coming up in minutes, plus Tigers' up and down day in Mexico. But we had some really great finishes in the association.
Yeah, it was a good night. The NBA back from its All-Star break with entertaining. They're going to head to Indy to talk quarterbacks. It's SEC Statement Day in college basketball, and now the Bulls and Hawks might still be playing.
Of Tuesday's loss. We are now live in Houston with our coach, Seth Greenberg. I do want to start there. We'll get to Houston in just a minute, but I want to talk about Duke. They've lost 2 of their last 3 without Zion. You're a coach. How are you looking at how the players are responding in his absence? Concerned too, because we mentioned at Miami, despite the fact they're having a bit of an off year, prideful team and seem to get the better of a Coach K team. Let's talk about the team that you're there to cover today for College Game Day, Houston. I mentioned it off the top. They're 27-1, but it seems like nobody really knows much about Houston, despite the fact they've got the best record in D1. What else should we know about them, Coach?
Sleeper.
We actually don't know right now, Coach, who has the potential, or the most potential, at least you'll tell us that, to win the SEC, because we've got a tie. Tennessee, Kentucky, they'll play each other today. LSU's up there as well. Who of those 3 teams, though, in your mind, is the most dangerous?
LSU is going to win the
Huge college slate, huge College Game Day coming to us from Houston, 11 a.m. right here on ESPN. We'll check back in with your colleagues in a little bit. Coach, thanks for joining us.
Welcome back to SportsCenter. During Antonio Brown's rapid rise to becoming the top receiver in the NFL, his relationship with the Pittsburgh Steelers appeared solid. That appearance changed recently, with Brown's season ending as a healthy inactive before demanding a trade in a season the Steelers missed the playoffs.
However, playing devil's advocate, sometimes to understand where a person is at, you have to understand where they have been. So that is exactly what NFL reporter Jeff Darlington did, following AB back to where it all started in this week's SportsCenter Featured. Jay Williams here to break down why exactly the cookies are. I'm just kidding. We're not going to have you break down any cookies.
He's not a player, but he crushes a lot of cookies.
Okay.
Okay.
Did you just go big pun on? Okay, all right. Well, we've been doing a lot of puns on this show. I tried to throw it in there, but
it took you a while to get it. Okay, anyway.
No, I got it. I had to take a minute. I was like, is that Fat Joe or Big Pun? Jay, we saw the cookie effect. That's a bit of a joke. What actually makes this Houston squad so good?
Well, I think it's a factor.
A lot of people on the national level will be introduced to them today. That tip, 4 o'clock on ESPN. But we have a really big game in Knoxville as well. Tennessee and Kentucky. It's big in part because the SEC right now has a 3-way tie atop it, including those 2 teams in LSU. Of the 3, who do you think is the most dangerous? More than a Boricua? We thank you, and we will see you College Game Day. I got you back finally.
Thank you. Finally, you came around. Thank you.
I had full buy-in. 11 myself, Elle Duncan and Matt Berry. John Bones Jones making really easy work in the octagon last night. We'll also show you, Matt, why if you've never attempted the worm, you shouldn't do it in an octagon.
Worming's a bad idea.
It's bad.
Yep.
Sounded like it. I'm Elle Duncan. That is Matt Berry. We're always having fun. Listen, all eyes on Tobacco Road. Why Duke of North Carolina? About a lot more than bragging rights.
Yeah.
We got the Game Day crew checking in live.
Yeah, last night was a battle for the top seed of the West.
And Celtics tonight. So full disclosure, there are times here where we get these stats that are so convoluted that it's kind of hard to make sense of it. When player so-and-so drives left at a rate of 2.6 miles per hour, he shoots 36% as compared to 46% when he goes right, and the arena temperature is greater than 75 degrees. What exactly? But when the internet noticed that untucked Kyrie is greater than his tucked counterpart, well, now that is a seemingly ridiculous connection we can actually all get behind. Scoop Jackson explains. Greenberg joining us now from UNC, and I just kind of showed that, Coach. Duke had absolutely no answers for Luke May in that first game. What do they need to do, and who specifically needs to step up for Duke in this one?
I think for Luke May.
And obviously, again, in talking about that game, no word on if Zion Williamson is going to play. We will be joined by Jay Williams. I'll get his opinion on whether he should. After Duke UNC, we actually have a really good game between a pair of top 10 teams on ESPN as well. Michigan State. As you know, Coach, whoever wins that game gets at least a share of the Big Ten title because Purdue is in the mix as well. So out of those 3 teams, who do you think is in command? Controversy tends to kind of galvanize players, as you just said. We will see, Coach, coming up 11 a.m. Eastern College Saturday morning. We do have a huge rivalry game, UNC and Duke. No one knows if Zion's going to play. I'm going to ask someone who has played in this rivalry whether he should, just for the experience of it all.
Oh, that's a good tease. Last night, battle for the top spot of the Western Conference. NBA Nuggets with the...
What?
Just soak it in.
That's a good sound.
Can you tell this dude played at Duke? Can you tell?
It makes me feel like I'm at home, you know?
They love you. They love you very well. In fact, we're going to get to that in just a second. But after Zion went down, it was a lot of a next man up mentality. Okay, so we're still waiting 17 days later. Who on Duke specifically would you like to see some more consistency from? Of that game with North Carolina tried to adjust. It was just they ran out of time at that point. But again, we're talking about Zion. And again, we don't know if he's going to play or not. And a lot of advice for Zion to just shut it down and whatever. But as someone who has played in this rivalry, as evident by the crowd behind you, will he have really gotten the full Duke effect if he never actually participated in this rivalry game?
No.
The folks at Dean Dome, though, if you're able to complete the season sweep of Duke for the first time in almost 10 years, is there an asterisk if Zion does?
And with that, happy NFL Sunday.
Apparently.
NFL just, they got that news cycle going. Coming up on Saturday that decided a lot in college basketball. Elle Duncan and Matt Berry alongside. We will get to the hoops in a minute, but we begin Pittsburgh, Oakland, major news.
Exactly. We are going to talk with Ryan Clark about whether his former team got the better end of this deal, but the deal did happen despite.
Center Antonio Brown is entering the black hole. The star receiver coming to a contract agreement late last night with the Raiders, who will send a 3rd and 5th round pick back to the Steelers. In exchange, John Gruden, well, he has a star for his offense.
Now, during Brown's rise to stardom, his relationship always appeared to be solid with the Steelers. That's, of course, up until the final weeks of the season. So 2 weeks ago, Brown sat down with our Jeff Darlington to discuss how his past has shaped his present, and this SportsCenter featured.
Yeah. Such is life when breaking news happens.
That was the first victim of the Antonio Brown trade. As we welcome you in on what is now an NFL Sunday, Matt Berry and Elle Duncan. And again, we had a lot going on in college basketball. We'll get to that in just a minute. This is the biggest news of the day.
We've been sitting on this since Friday. We thought something might happen, but the Raiders finally got the player that everybody been talking.
George took 2 L's yesterday. Kyrie Irving alluding to that. Welcome to SportsCenter on your Friday with myself, Elle Duncan, and Matt Berry. It's the return of the king, the college king, if you will.
The college king was back. I mean, look, he's been out the last 6 games. It didn't matter because we knew when Zion would come back, it'd be something to see for Duke. And he was perfect last night, literally.
And Matt Berry, yesterday, Tiger Woods came through dripping. And because he is not Cardi B, that's actually a terrible thing. We'll show you what he's done that he hasn't in 20 years in just a minute.
I don't know what that means, so we're going to get to college basketball. Welcome back to SportsCenter. The Good Friday Agreement in 1998 brought a decades-long conflict in Northern Ireland to a peaceful resolution. But the echoes of what they called the Troubles still haunts the country. Enter Michael Conlon, Northern Ireland's best ever male amateur fighter.
Now a professional ready to make his 3rd St. Patrick's Day appearance at Madison Square Garden. The pride of Belfast incites more than just dreams of a belt. As Mark Kriegel reports in this SportsCenter featured, Conlon also represents the hope of a nation. Dan, let's just assume here that the committee is watching our show right now. I want you to tell him of the bubble teams who you think is the most deserving of a tournament bid.
Well, it just is going to depend on what the committee is looking for. They introduced something called the net. The net is the new RPI. Everybody's familiar with the RPI. The difference, one of the differences, a real shot.
They will certainly see. That's the best part, is that we're just like a few hours away, right, from no more speculation and seeing if this new rating system.
And with that, good morning. Happy St. Patrick's Day. I hope your green beer and eggs are great. I hope your pencil is ready because the bracket will be complete today. We'll visit the NBA's biggest game in just a minute.
Yes, but they're probably, Matt, still singing Danny Boy at Shooters in Durham. The return of the king would not be complete without a title.
Next. So I did a little research. The Briscoe firm of research and statistics. That's a terrible name.
Kind of.
Anyway, James Harden scored 19 points in 2 NCAA tournament games.
Okay. He had more than that in the first quarter last night. In fact, it was significant personally as well. We're going to go do our... So Grayson Boucher is best known as the Professor. It's a nickname that was earned when he was discovered during a 2003 and 1 mixtape tour stop in his native Oregon. The MC that day dubbed him the Professor because he was schooling people with his handles.
Okay, so today you're going to go to school. SC Featured presents Crossover 101 with the Professor. Class is officially in session.
Are you watching, thinking...
Do you know him as the Professor?
Yeah, no, I actually knew him as a Global Hooper.
You did not. You lie.
It's true. It's in the tag.
That's apparently his second alias. But no, I didn't know him as that either.
Yeah. Global Hooper just sounds...
Pick it, go with the Professor.
Professor it is. So...
What's wrong? Why?
All set there. You know, Matt, while none of you are perfect, you are smart, you are kind, and you are important. Am I missing any other affirmations?
Nope, you're good.
Okay, and you are also watching SportsCenter with Matt Berry and Elle Duncan.
So we'll get to all the college basketball in a minute, but first in the NBA, Golden State in a back and forth with the Nuggets for the top seed out west. Steph Curry got the night off, and the Warriors got
myself, Elle Duncan, and Matt Berry. Matt, we had baseball end 3 hours ago.
Yeah, we were watching it.
Right, 4 a.m. Eastern. We're going to show you who had a monster Dodger debut.
You know, we got a bit of a tease in the first 2 rounds of the tournament, but the Sweet 16 kids can party.
They are feeling it. Welcome to SportsCenter on your Saturday with Matt Berry and Elle Duncan. We had baseball end 4 hours ago because, of course, it's baseball. We're going to show you who had a monster D-back debut.
Yeah, you know, we got a bit of a tease in the first 2 rounds of the tournament. Some good games, not some great games, but the Welcome back to SportsCenter. Relief pitchers are usually one of the more anonymous and underrated positions in all of sports. They can be the decisive factor in an MLB season, but they stay largely under the radar. Head down, do the job.
And that was really Danny Farquhar, an MLB journeyman whose career spanned from Toronto, Seattle, Tampa, and Chicago over 9 years, until he was suddenly thrust into the spotlight last April. As Michelle Steele explains in this SportsCenter featured, when his life and career took a turn that nobody saw coming. Return of baseball also means the return of one of our favorite segments.
Yeah.
Our minor league promotion of the week, and as we should, we'll start with a little gold.
Yep, the Tulsa Drillers, AA affiliate of the Dodgers, won the Texas League title for the first time since '98. So to celebrate, they're wearing these gold jerseys.
Hopefully they fit better.
Fit me nice and snug, opening a 7-game homestand, which begins Thursday.
Also on tap, they'll have a parade around the ballpark.
Nothing revolve around you. And
all right, here we go.
There we go.
Hey, boo. Hey, girl. Hey. So there it is. We're going to be doing these all year long. So I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing.
We're going to keep doing these after that? Good-looking lid, by the way. 7.5. Amazing.
I was going to say, look, total buy in there.
I root for the show. There's a lot that happened yesterday. There's a lot happening today. Elle Duncan and Matt Berry alongside for the next hour. No more LeBron in L.A. We'll get to that. Bryce Harper gets his first curtain call. And Tiger gets eliminated from the golf bracket. But today, the NCAA bracket, there's going to be 4 teams left.
Yep, 2 more teams punching their ticket. Sugar, cinnamon kind of guy?
Second most popular Pop-Tart, brown sugar.
Okay, well,
number 1, strawberry.
Yeah, well, I'm a s'mores Pop-Tart snob. Collectively, we're Elle Duncan and Matt Berry.
All right, so today we have the men's Final Four in Minneapolis. It is a lot to live up to after what we saw last night with the women.
Yes. 1 year ago today, a community, a nation, and the hockey world were rocked by one of the sport's deadliest tragedies. A bus carrying a Canadian junior hockey team, the Humboldt Broncos, collided with a semi-truck, killing 16 players, coaches, and staff members on board.
Now, 1 year later, to the day, 3 families impacted by that fateful night shared their stories of loss, unity, and resilience. Tomorrow morning, E60 presents Forever Broncos, a powerful portrait of life's fragility and the boundless strength that exists within us. Here's an excerpt narrated by Wayne Gretzky. A Class A Advanced Astros affiliate, team name is named for the red-cockaded woodpecker, which has a large population in the area. Also, they won their first game 15-0 on a one-hitter from the pitching staff.
Yeah, so we're wearing the home white and gray jerseys. Here's the white. Okay.
Have a look at this one.
This is the gray. I'm going to put my top plays down because that's coming in just a second. We really worked this one out. The team's letting us unveil the 3 alternate jerseys that they're going to wear this season as well.
Pecker lids.
Love a good woodpecker lid.
Yeah, who doesn't?
They're called something. An aviary.
A bird enthusiast.
Okay, all right. That sounds legit.
Coaches who preach them, welcome into hopefully a fundamentally sound SportsCenter AM.
Well.
Elle Duncan, Randy Scott on this Sunday morning. Also a big night for mascots who ride horses.
That's true. Mass rider. Hold tight. And it's no offense to your abilities, Cavman, but yesterday we witnessed an event 85 years in the making. Women finally playing at Augusta National. The result of an inaugural tournament that was dubbed the Augusta Women's Amateur Event. It was announced last year in an effort to showcase up-and-coming athletes in the sport, but also to inspire the next generation of young female golfers to help grow.
That ring being set up for this event. It's WrestleMania 35. So 17 years ago, that means a couple friends and I were in a dorm outside Chicago, geeked up for this. There was a split in the room. One guy really liked The Rock. The other guy, maybe me, really liked Hulk Hogan. The Rock won. It was a tremendous moment. It was also years ago.
If that personal anecdote didn't make it clear, Randy didn't have a girlfriend until he was 30. But the truth is, for more than 3 decades, that's what Wrestlemania does. It makes huge names like Hogan and The Rock and Andre the Giant and Stone Cold Steve Austin. It's where names are made, but it's also where moments are made. And this year, Randy, as Jeremy Schaap shows us, the main event is like nothing before it. Ended last night, and the first coaching domino has fallen. Adrian Wojnarowski, what can you tell us?
Elle, it's about to fall. Sacramento plans to fire Coach Dave Yeager. Their general manager, Vlade Divac.
They were vying for their 40th win yesterday. They haven't won more than 33 in 10 seasons. Why do that now?
Yeah, and with a young core, a star point, a lot closer to 500 than this team has been in a very long time.
And certainly they had made big strides. Yeager, we knew his job status was kind of up in the air as he was moving into the final year of his contract. Obviously, Adrian Wojnarowski is on top of anything. Should any more dominoes fall, we'll have it for you here on SportsCenter. But again, it was the end of the regular season. Let's go by the numbers on what was. And we are on top of all the breaking news here from Bristol. But our coverage from Augusta National continues right now. Matt Berry hosting SportsCenter at the Master live this morning. Hey, Matt. 60 seconds from now, but we do start with breaking news in the NBA. Kings GM Vlade Divac is planning to fire coach Dave Joerger in a meeting today. That's according to our Adrian Wojnarowski. Divac got a 4-year extension today and is essentially looking to consolidate his power, sources tell Woj. There has been a bit of a disconnect between Joerger and the front office over playing time for some young players. We are going to handle all non-Masters related coverage from right here in Bristol as it happens. But for now, we send it back to Augusta. Matt Barry anchors our coverage as SportsCenter at the Masters rolls on.
So many reasons why
yes, there
it's
is.
going to be phenomenal. Sunday is here, so are we. Elle Duncan and Matt Barry alongside. We have day one of the NBA playoffs to get to, but today could be one of the great days in sports history.
You know what? That's not hyperbole because I know you're a huge fan, but it isn't, right? Like the thought of Tiger in a green jacket again, I cannot even. In fact, I don't have to. Let's get you down to Augusta National as they break day.
Are you going to have a great day? Sunday is here, so are we. Elle Duncan and Matt Barry alongside. Day one of the NBA playoffs. We'll get to that at some point. But first, we have breakfast at Augusta.
Yes, we do. Tiger potentially getting another green jacket. I cannot even. It doesn't matter. We don't have to because we are underway already from Augusta with tee times moved up. Jackie Robinson would have turned 100 on January 31st. And as baseball celebrates his life and career this week, SportsCenter begins a 5-part series of essays written by trailblazing baseball writer Claire Smith on the depth of Jackie's impact, which can be surmised with this Hank Aaron quote. When Jackie came into the league, every black in America started watching professional baseball and minor league baseball. Unfortunately, much like Jackie, Aaron's achievements were not initially welcomed by some, especially as he chased down the all-time home run record. Jackie's daughter, Sharon Robinson, tells of his journey in a story, I must warn you, contains sensitive language, so viewer discretion is advised. It was 45 years ago this month when Aaron hit home run number 715. He'd finished with a career total of 755 home runs, a record mark that stood for 33 years. Tomorrow, in our part 2 of our series, we're going to look at the man himself, Jackie Robinson, on the 72-year anniversary of his history-making first game in the big leagues. Sports version of Christmas, and not just because you're getting literally Risco and Elle Duncan. It's because, and I want you to let this soak in for a minute, you woke up in a world where Tiger Woods is a Masters champion.
Yeah, and we thought there was Tiger Mania before all of this.
So last night's win also provided some vindication maybe for CJ McCollum. Back in 2018, the guard made a woman Twitter famous when she sniped at him about his perceived issues with star players going to the Warriors by tweeting, win a playoff game and then talk. And his humble clapback a year ago, I'm trying, Jennifer. Now that he has, inquiring minds. 72 years ago on April 15th, when Jackie Robinson stepped onto a Major League Baseball field as the first African-American to play in the modern era. The impact he left on the sport, the country, and the world is beyond palpable, as evident by players across baseball's landscape today wearing his league-wide retired jersey, which is why part 2 of SportsCenter's 5-part series of essays that was written by trailblazing baseball writer Claire Smith puts Jackie himself in full focus, narrated by his daughter. In part 3 of our series, we're going to examine the Negro Leagues and the outlet that they provided African Americans to play baseball before Jackie broke the color barrier at the major league level. In the Bay, as we say good morning to you on SportsCenter, I'm Elle Duncan. That is Nicole Briscoe. But you know the adage, never go to bed mad? Yeah. Okay, I would like to amend. Okay. Never go to bed unpaid. Yeah, because while the highest paid player in the NFL, let's bring in our NFL analyst. Dan Orlovsky is here alongside Jim Nagy. So you were a scout for the Seahawks when they won Super Bowl 48. And Dan, what's your reaction? You hear that the Seahawks finally got this deal done, a record-setting deal with their quarterback league. But Jim, there's always an impact. Whenever I hear, oh, this person got a historic contract, you always start wondering about the rest of the roster. How are the Seahawks going to have the money to compile that around him?
Well, it puts the onus on the scouting staff.
And don't forget, like, Russell is one of those guys in the NFL that when you pay him that money.
Before Jackie Robinson was showcasing his talents for the Brooklyn Dodgers, he was showcasing his talents in the Negro Leagues and the Kansas City Monarchs. Although Jackie was the first player to be picked from the Negro Leagues to break Major League Baseball's color barrier, the league was filled with legends in their own right. In fact, it's part of our celebration of Jackie's impact. His daughter, Sharon, tells us about the rich history of the Negro League. Waking up with Elle Duncan and Matt Barry, and waking up to Christian Yelich making history, but the Brewers with a swift Kike in the rear. The showdown at Miller Park in a minute.
Well, we are off and running, aren't we?
Matt and Elle back with you on SportsCenter. You know, in the biggest sense, the NFL draft's become a national spectacle. But measured more intimately, it's a series of days that profoundly affect hundreds of young men and their families. It's a time of great celebration, if, of course, Matt, your name is called.
That's the big if, but what if it's not? What do you do next? As Tom Rinaldi shares in this SC Featured, if you're one young man in Colorado who never heard his name, you might make history right at home. Friday home game starting on April 26. Trenton Thunder, the AA affiliate of the Yankees, will wear special Thunder pork roll uniforms and will be served. I would like
pork rolls.
So the Trenton Thunder, in exchange for us doing this, I would like boxes of pork rolls sent here.
Can you
morning
box
show.
up pork rolls?
That's right up the road.
Okay. From right near where I grew up. The Gwinnett Stripers, also known as the Gwinnett Braves, the AAA affiliate of the Atlanta Braves. And they're apparently hosting something. Prompter went out, so I don't really know what they're hosting, but they've got these
Come off more like a fishing lure.
Bobby Cox, do I?
You familiar with the fishing lure?
Yes.
They're bright.
Fish. They're watching it with Matt Berry and Elle Duncan. Giannis bullied his way through Boston. We've got those highlights in a minute, but come on, Matt. I think it's pretty clear where we start.
You're right. It is clear where we start. May the 4th be with you.
Oh, it is May the 4th.
It is.
Okay, thank you.
Walk with me, tattoo.
Also, my anniversary comes to us from the Stockton Ports, Class A advanced affiliate of the Oakland A's.
Okay, so Elle, this team has had an alternate asparagus-themed logo since 2013. But for the first time, they will be playing one game as the Stockton
are going to be
the asparagus theme. Might be a little difficult. The asparagus will host the Modesto Nuts tonight. Barry back with you on SportsCenter. According to a 2018 Reuters report, video games are the most popular and profitable form of entertainment, surpassing television, movies, and music. For those who play video games, the virtual world is insulated and unaffected by the real world.
But as Jen Latta shares in this SportsCenter Featured, for the esports athlete they call O'Larry, when the line between those two worlds vanishes, control is replaced with chaos. Promotion of the week, it comes to us from the Stockton Ports, which is the Class A advanced affiliate of the Oakland A's.
The team has an alternate asparagus-themed logo since 2013, but for the first time, they will be playing one game as they're going to host the Modesto Nuts tonight.
Keep it there for a minute. For more than 100 years, the Cubs and Cardinals have battled, becoming one of baseball's best rivalries. From Stan Musial's 3,000th hit and the Lou Brock trade to the infamous brawl of 1974 and, of course, the epic McGuire-Sosa home run race in 1998. So with the Cubs just a half game back in the NL Central and facing each other today, Michelle Steele revisits the road from friend to foe.
SportsCenter live from the mothership. We are your connection, Elle Duncan and Jay Harris.
I like that. Maybe the catch of the year in baseball in just a couple of minutes. But first, the theme in Oakland last night, Jay, halt and catch fire. Gronk obviously living his best life in retirement fantasy land so far this summer. As far as actual fantasy football, it's the first time in a really long time that the top tight end off the draft boards is not going to be that lovable meathead. So here's the very early fantasy tight end rankings per our brain trust at the ESPN Fantasy. Well, Jay, it's become a bit of a Mother's Day tradition here on SportsCenter. Athletes writing personal and heartfelt letters to their mothers, unbeknownst to said athlete, that mom is close by listening in. So today we've got professional gamer and one of Time's 100 most influential people of 2019, Tyler Blevins, better known as Ninja. He reads a letter that he wrote to his mother, Cynthia, in this SportsCenter Featured presentation, Dear Mom. SportsCenter with Elle Duncan and Randy Scott. You will not be watching Kevin Durant tonight. His playoff outlook is ahead, but we start in the East. Philly big man Randy ill, not sick. And while my 9-month-old cannot speak, she does express her love by ripping my nose off and mushing me in the face. Lucky for us, the athletes in Dear Mom more eloquently express their affection.
Yeah, a little public service announcement. Call mom, send her a gift, pay for the rush delivery to get it there in time because Mother's Day is Sunday and not Monday because mail doesn't come on Sunday. Trust me, I used all those excuses. Lisa Leslie's a Hall of Famer. She's a 3-time WNBA MVP, 4-time Olympic gold medalist, and she shares a letter that she wrote to her mother, Christine.
Hi, this lead is brought to you by the number 2. That's the number of guys who have turned down the Lakers head coaching vacancy in the last few weeks. 2 is also the % chance that the Lakers have in landing presumptive #1 overall pick Zion Williamson. Infinitesimal, yes. Impossible, no. And if you're a Lakers fan in need of just like a sliver of hope or just a conspiracy theorist, Scoop Jackson imagines a world where two basketball juggernauts collide.
They're today on this Mother's Day. Welcome to all the moms out there, and I guess everybody else watching, but mainly the moms. Gary Streisky and Elle Duncan experiencing your first one as a mother. Happy Mother's Day.
Thank you so much. There is nothing like your first, although if you're the Lakers, maybe you're hoping third time's a charm because they finally
get to call your mothers, especially today on this Mother's Day. Welcome to all the lovely mothers out there watching this morning. Gary Streisky and Elle Duncan experiencing your first Mother's Day.
I am. Also, happy Mother's Day to Lee and Tony. There is nothing like your first, although I guess if you're the Lakers, maybe you're hoping. The 44 minutes have gone pretty well. You're watching SportsCenter on your Sunday. We thank you for that. Elle Duncan, Matt Barry. We'll look ahead to the Eastern Conference Final in a minute.
A good morning to you. If you remember Game 2 of the Western Conference Finals, Elle, the Warriors were down 15 points at home at the half.
I remember.
They came back to win. How would they handle some good drama there? Speaking of drama, it's a big night in the North. Huge night in the North. In fact, supremacy could be decided that could lead to sitting on the throne, especially if there's a way to beat an entire team of Warriors.
I'm sorry. What are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
They're not playing the Warriors. You're talking about the Raptors and the Bucks. I'm talking about the Eastern Conference Finals.
No, I'm talking about Game of Thrones.
Okay, well, I guess it's kind of fitting because the Raptors, if they don't find a way to stop the Mad Greek, their season goes to Dracarys.
Welcome back to SportsCenter. The Golden State Warriors and nicknames seem to go hand in hand. Their winning ways have led to the boys from the Bay simply be called, well, I mean the Dubs.
Yeah.
And even though they hail from Oakland, Warriors fans commonly refer to the city as the town.
Yeah, but long before Steph and Clay and KD repped the blue and gold, it was Tim, Mitch, and Chris who pioneered the up-tempo, high-scoring onslaught that led to the Warriors' original Big Three earning their own nickname that was inspired by hip-hop pioneers Run DMC.
All right, so in this week's SC Featured, Scoop Jackson is on the ones and twos, taking us back 30 years to 1989 when Run TMC changed the game.
Raptors left it all on the table, taking Game 1 of the NBA Finals over the Warriors. And while Kawhi Leonard may be the quiet leader of the team, Pascal Siakam is the engine that's seemingly roaring louder than ever. He scored 32 in his Finals debut. That's the most since Kevin Durant had 36 in 2012. And he was part of a starting front court that outscored Golden State 75-18. And while Siakam's play has been amazing all season, his journey to the NBA has been unconventional. I don't know why I'm talking like that. I'm taking on the cherry. It's the Traverse City Pit Spitters, who kicked off their season last Tuesday. The Pit Spitters are in the Northwoods League, which is a collegiate amateur league.
All right, so Traverse City is the cherry capital of the world. Pit Spitters.
The Pit Spitters.
I'd really spit the bit on that one, huh?
Or spit the pit.
Still your turn.
Anyway, they say that the world record for pit spitting in a competition is 93 feet. We're not well, I was gonna say we weren't attempting to do that, but apparently you didn't get the memo, so there we go. I dressed like a cherry today.
It's the first hat I'm keeping. Play Phillip, Texas Rangers. Plays the Kinston Collard Greens from June 6th to June 8th, a tribute to the agricultural history and southern food of the area.
Yeah, some of the best American food historically came out of some. I make the bombinest collard greens. Like, they're so good.
Meat?
Yes.
Sugar?
Yeah, I can't give away too many details.
Okay,
just know they're real good. But I'm from the South, and if you can't make collards, then I've heard.
You've heard of them, haven't you?
Yeah, I have absolutely heard of both of them.
All right, so if we've learned one thing in the NBA postseason, it's that we shouldn't declare a series over or even in trouble after Game 1. A quick refresher, if you will. The Bucks were up 2-0 on the Raptors in the Eastern Conference Finals. You remember that? There were some who declared the series over. Yet, here are the Raptors.
It certainly was not me that declared it over, but the Warriors, they're not worried. It's all about confidence, as Mark Schwartz tells us, in this golden state of mind.
The Golden State Warriors and nicknames seem to go hand in hand. Their winning ways have led to the boys from the Bay being simply dubbed the Dubs. Yeah. And even though they hail from Oakland, Warriors fans commonly refer to the city as the town.
However, Matt, long before Steph, Clay, and KD repped the blue and gold, it was Tim, Mitch, and Chris who pioneered the up-tempo, high-scoring onslaught that led to the Warriors' original Big Three, earning their own nickname that was inspired by hip-hop pioneers Run DMC.
In this week's SC Featured, Scoop Jackson is on the wiki.
Oh.
1 and 2's taking us back 30 years to 1989 when Run TMC changed the game.
Wiki. I've heard.
You've heard of them, haven't you?
Yeah, I have absolutely heard of both of them.
All right, so if we've learned one thing in the NBA postseason, it's that we shouldn't declare a series over or even in trouble after game one. A quick refresher, if you will. The Bucks were up 2-0 on the Raptors in the Eastern Conference Finals. You remember that? There were some who declared the series over. Yet, here are the Raptors.
It certainly was not me that declared it over, but the Warriors, they're not worried. It's all about confidence, as Mark Schwartz tells us, in this golden state of mind.
All right, guys, the fun continues there in the Bay Area. The series is getting pretty interesting at this point, Elle Duncan.
It is. We will break down what we saw in Game 3, and we'll look ahead to what Caesar seems to think is going to happen for the rest of this series. SportsCenter starts right now. Kick off the season on Thursday night. I can't wait to see that, Packers and Bears. Let's switch over to the AFC North. Odell Beckham Jr., he says he is almost giddy to be in Cleveland now. So, truth or how dare I, the Browns are going to have a top 5 scoring offense. They finished 20th last year in scoring at just about 22 points per game. Let's move over to another huge superstar who's on a new team, that being Le'Veon Bell. No doubt he's going to get a Herculean share of this offense when it comes up this year. But truth or how dare I, Le'Veon's going to actually break his career best for all-purpose yards, which, by the way, Vic, is over 2,200. Time the season starts 600 days since he actually played a meaningful game. That's quite a break. Victor Cruz will get a break, but first, he's hanging out on sports.
You've got championship tennis. You've got Elle Duncan. You've got Matt Berry. What else could you ask for to start your Friday?
About a little fire goalie play and some controversy. Would that interest you? It better. The answer is yes. So, following Game 2 was that the Raptors failed to take advantage of a banged-up and sick Warriors team. The story following Game 3 simply advantaged Toronto. But with Clay set to return tonight, Kawhi Leonard caught up with Rachel Nichols about what that means for the series and why, despite being in the middle of a title run, it's 3 weeks from now everyone's concerned with.
With that, good morning. I'm going out on a limb and saying that today is the best Friday Canada has experienced in quite some time, maybe ever. Elle Duncan and Matt Berry presiding over the first day ever, by the way, that an NBA champion doesn't reside in the United States.
Wow.
Speaking of the U.S., we will visit the Open in just a bit.
But game 2070 at Oracle, and it was a spectacular. Speaking of which, tomorrow night in Vegas, a new Tyson takes over the MGM Grand. And while Tyson Fury doesn't hold a championship belt like Mike Tyson, he does lay claim to the title of lineal heavyweight, being the man who beat the man. And while that seems like the same transitive property argument that had people criticizing UCF's claim as national champions a couple years back, Joe Tessitore explains why it's significant in the sport of boxing alone. Elle Duncan with you on your Saturday SportsCenter. Still ahead, Tiger tiptoeing at Pebble Beach. And are we primed for another heavyweight upset tonight? We'll talk about Matt Berry's body double. And we'll also show you whether the Braves are baseball's best late bloomers.
Morning one without the NBA Finals gave us the gift of her. But that junior can also carry a lot of weight. Both of those ring true for Kevin Porter Jr.
That's right. He's one of the most compelling prospects in the upcoming NBA draft. As Tom Rinaldi explains in the SportsCenter featured presented by Marriott, for Porter, his path to the draft is possible in part because he continued in the footsteps of his father.
Happy Father's Day to everyone. Happy Father's Day to our fathers.
Yes.
And in honor of, throughout top plays, in honor of Father's Day, we're going to sprinkle in dad jokes throughout the highlights. But before we do, I have a confession to make that I actually hacked Forrest Gump's bank account because the password was easy to figure out.
What?
It was 1, Forrest, 1.
Back that kid, and we're all better for it. We will show you why we had just the wildest series between the Padres and the Rockies as we say good morning, Elle Duncan and Randy Scott.
Yeah, good morning. Be in Toronto. We showed you those pictures. Got a parade today. You also have a different first-time winner in golf. Let's get out to another beautiful visit.
Madonna, Prince, Beyonce, LeBron, Zion. I mean, can you imagine being so transcendent that at 18 years old, your surname is irrelevant? That's what happens when you are the most hyped hooper since the kid from scene. After a pretty memorable college debut that featured drool-worthy dunks and an exploding shoe, Maria Taylor sat down with Zion to discuss his impending pro career and whether a slam dunk contest is in his immediate future.
Who saw that? It was a night of trades, good and questionable fashion, and my new pet peeve, the wrong hats for several of the NBA's newest stars. Elle Duncan and Matt Berry on your Friday. Who graded out with A's? Who got F's? And also great baseball last night.
Yeah, we've got an emotional win in Omaha. That's on the way, but plenty of touching sentiment last night in Brooklyn as 60 players now know their Fins have clearly had a pretty busy week. So they traded Anthony Davis to the Lakers. They received Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, Josh Hart, and 3 first-round draft picks. They flipped the 4th overall pick from the Lakers to the Hawks for the 3 additional picks in this draft. Oh, and did I mention that they also, of course, had the 1st overall pick and drafted Zion. So I think David Griffin has earned himself, I don't know, like a hand grenade or a hurricane or something. So most of us will never have the privilege of understanding what it feels like to be drafted into a pro sports league. But we can all relate to being overcome with emotion despite knowing what the end result will ultimately be. Example, you knew Titanic was going to sink, but Rose telling Jack, I'll never let go, it got you, right? 9 months doesn't really prepare you for the first time that you see your kid.
Oh, so
or,
cute.
Matt, when you watch that kid in an 18-year buildup inevitably walk across the stage towards a diploma, or in last night's case, an NBA career. Mark Schwartz with all the feelings from the Barclays last night.
With you on this fresh edition of SportsCenter. Talk about getting the last jab, right? He's kind of did. He sort of did. I'm all for it. Yep. He couldn't help himself with that little jab. We'll get to that in a little bit and get you caught up with everything you need to know that's going down in the Big Easy.
Yes, but okay, so I was working this very show on July 4th, 2016, and pre-show we got word from our producer that Kevin Durant was expected to announce his free agency plans, and that the news could obviously come down during our time slot and would subsequently blow up the show if he decided to leave. But based on reports, he was probably going to stay in OKC. 15 minutes into the show, he chose the Warriors. We did 5 hours that day instead of 1. And 3 years later, we know the impact that fateful decision had on the league. And as Brian Windhorst speculates, his pending decision could also create a similar domino effect. Tony, let's take a walk down memory lane. Do you remember when the internet went all nuts over Anthony Davis and the Looney Tunes, right? Like, just to remind you, he'd already made his intentions to leave New Orleans pretty clear, and they were sort of awkwardly still making him play, so he wore a "That's all, folks" shirt into the arena, which sparked a whole debate about 26-year-olds picking out their own clothes. Yeah, so armed with a joke that he has apparently been sitting on for months, Pelicans coach Alvin Gentry asked about his former star yesterday, and he responded with a of it in our work pod today, set off a barrage of favorite lines, by the way, to everyone listening in the control room. Correct answer is everything Roger Dorn says. It was out of my reach. What did you want me to do? Die for it? So, but here's the caveat to walking down memory lane. It is celebrating its 30th anniversary, and I know that's crazy. But Gene Wojciechowski explains in this SportsCenter feature presented by Marriott that while baseball's current All-Stars invade Cleveland this week, the real Cleveland Stars remained a band of baseball misfits that have stood the test of time. You may remember that there were actually 2 sequels to Major League. Bob Uecker says it's not even close. Players and fans recite the original by heart. And here's one last fun fact for you. Current Indians manager and former Indians player Terry Francona not only loves the movie, he was actually in the movie. He was playing for the Indians in 1988, and they filmed some night scenes.
The week, and it is from the Asheville Tourist, who will wear these groovy uniforms Thursday versus the Greenville Drive. The name Hippies was not meant to be a compliment.
It was not meant to be a compliment at all. So a few years ago, here's the deal.
It's a season series would have to wear either a Hippies or Rednecks jersey.
So the teams actually split the series, but the Tourists honored the bet. They've played as the Hippies since 2017. It's one of their most popular promotions, but the Drive have not honored the bet and wore Redneck shirts. Can't imagine why. A treasure trove of first-round draft picks, if you will. Our front office insider, Bobby Marks, is joining us now to continue to break down what was a crazy, crazy story that we had overnight. So let's take a look now how the Clippers are currently composed with the additions of Kawhi Leonard and Paul George.
Well, we took out Shea.
Which of these 2 rosters makes them a better contender, the Lakers or the Clippers?
The Clippers.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
And when you look at the ability to get Paul George and Kawhi Leonard and still have your depth, I'm not sure where this roster is going right now, so I'm...
And then they added 2 of the best two-way players in the entire league in the last 24 hours. It's been crazy. Bobby Marks hanging out with us all day.
The week is part 2 and a tribute to the Keystone State, Pennsylvania. And it comes with a vocabulary lesson. Tonight, the Lee Valley Iron Pigs will play as the Philly John.
Okay, no need to go to the Urban Dictionary. We can, you look it up.
Yeah, okay. And because it's a true tribute to Philly, the Fanatic, of course, will be there.
Let's get a lot of testosterone. Plenty of it here in studio, as you see as well. Good Sunday morning, and Tony at the Collins and Elle Duncan with you. Who would have thought that when free agency in the NBA started exactly a week ago, right, that we would be talking at some point about what team Russell Westbrook should be traded to? But alas, that's where we are. We'll dive into it, but we're going to start in the octagon, Tony.
We're going to start with craziness that happened.
Certainly will be. Let's switch gears to baseball. There was a time when the flip of one's bat after a home run would always lead to a hit by pitch for retribution. Call it part of baseball's unwritten rules. Old schoolers tend to label the bat flip as disrespectful, while the new generation feels it's all in good fun. But there's one element that no one's thinking about. What about the poor bat itself? The level of mistreatment it receives on a daily basis has Keith Olbermann quite concerned.
Many hits we can relate, Matt Berry, Elle Duncan, as we have also been described as offensive.
Yeah, yes. I wondered, did the overnight show, did they cover that game?
I don't know.
They did. Okay. They were here till the conclusion. So if you weren't amused by the 26-run fun between the Reds and Rockies, perhaps you'll enjoy a little more brilliance from the best player in baseball. We'll get to Mike Trout in just a minute. But first, last night.
Smart money would say that he'll probably re-sign. I mean, there's, of course, the Clutch Sports connection, the fact he waived a $4 million trade kicker to help free up money to build a roster. And let's be honest, in a league where big threes have paved way to super duos, stands to reason he'd probably want to preserve that 1-2 punch that he and LeBron can provide LA. But before we get to the future and all of that, Lakers fans revel right now in his present. I really want to hear someone refer to themselves in the third person today. You are in luck. Zlatan is on the show, and in secondary roles, myself, Elle Duncan, and my dude, Nabil Kareem. Nice to see you.
Good to be here.
Yeah.
You know what? I always wonder about that because Zlatan does refer to himself in third person. What about a guy like Mike Leake?
All right, thank you, Doug. All week long, we've been proud to introduce you to another group of children with life-threatening conditions who've had their sports wishes come true.
Yeah, thanks to some of the outstanding athletes and teams along with the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Here's a look back with Chris Connolly at some of the best moments from this week's stories.
Back to a bit of a happier time, if you will, when Beverly Hills 90210 was everything and Pearl Jam and Mariah Carey topped the charts.
Dude, I had such a huge crush on Kelly Taylor.
Did you?
90210. Oh my God.
Yeah,
big time. Don't forget Alanis Morissette too on that list.
How ironic that the Canadian speaks up and talks about the Canadian. Well done. Well done.
Yeah, you got that. I'm a big fan of the Reno Aces, the AAA Diamondbacks affiliate, have gone with this Friends theme instead. I like that. I do like this.
The Fanny now, if you just slightly cock it to the left.
Yeah, you're right.
Then all of a sudden you're on trend. Like all
swag.
of a sudden you're cool. There's so much more of this coming. I'm not sure we should have teased that.
Wow, that's a good tease.
They're
not coming back.
They're probably not coming back. Yeah, who has a better swim body, Tom Brady or Michael Collins?
Why are you bringing up Michael again? I just forgot about that.
Listen, Michael Collins, for his part, doesn't eat avocado ice cream, so it's fine that he looks that way. However, let's talk about something else.
Yeah, let's get to it.
Preach.
The weekend has arrived, and so have we. Elle Duncan and Matt Berry counting down our Saturday mornings. The champs returned to practice yesterday. What can Trevor Lawrence do for an encore? We traverse college football soon.
I know you're excited about that. But, Matt, we're going to start with what was, I think, baseball's version of the Parent Trap. Welcome back to SportsCenter. I think it's apropos on Tom Brady's 42nd birthday to remind ourselves how incredibly difficult it is to walk away from a sport that you love and, let's be honest, are still dominating. But for Shelley Pennefather, walking away meant a lot more than just retiring. In this SportsCenter featured ESPNW collaboration, Robin Roberts of Good Morning America provides a rare window into one supremely spiritual basketball star. Stick with football. After embarking on a media tour to celebrate the U.S. women's national team's World Cup victory, Alex Morgan returns to Orlando to settle in and contemplate her future. In this excerpt from the ESPN Plus series Alex Morgan, The Equalizer, Morgan pretty candid about her plans for the next World Cup. Well, that was just a little appetizer if you want the full meal. Episode 4 of Alex Morgan, The Equalizer is now streaming exclusively on ESPN Plus.
For you, I know it's not quite 10 a.m. yet, but what are you going to be doing after work today?
I'm going to make my steak of the claim of the, I don't know, I'm going to cook steaks, I guess, because that's the point of this. We're doing minor league promotion of the week, and it's steaks, apparently.
It is, yeah. A few weeks ago, we featured the Omaha Storm Chasers playing as the Runzas.
Run.
That delicious sandwich they sent us, they were really good.
From Ty Law, the Sox are not sailing. What is happening with the defending champs? We'll get into that in a minute. Elle Duncan, Matt Berry, your Sunday tandem this morning.
I would like to think that if we pitched a no-hitter on this here program, it would be like a combined effort.
Just saying that so you have to or not. It's Saturday, which means Elle Duncan and Matt Berry. Matt, have you ever heard of a walk-off confrontation?
Yes, every day after the show.
Well, that's true. We're going to show you why one team decided they would celebrate a win with a different kind of firework.
Remember when everyone laughed at the Mets when they traded for Marcus Stroman and kept Noah Syndergaard? The Amazings are
there. What's your favorite part of Little League World Series?
The introductions.
I love them.
They're the best, right?
My name is Tanner Smith. I like Snickers and getting it in. They're just so adorable. Anyway, the Little League World Series starts next week, showcasing some of the best 11 and 12-year-old players in the world.
For a group of kids from Cuba, this season represents the first opportunity for them to compete against some of the premier international teams. And this latest SC featured Eduardo Perez takes us on their journey. Anything dumber, they go and pull a stunt like this and totally redeem themselves.
That's right, because our promo of the week, Matt, we've got two teams who are channeling their inner Harry and Lloyd for the 25th anniversary.
Minor league teams have a way of just putting us in a good mood, even if you've got no food, no job, our pets' heads are falling off.
Sweet little Petey. Sweet little.
This morning, watching the Premier League early over here in the States. Rivalries, quarrels, feuds are born and then bred through the years of angst, anger, and anguish. Michigan, Ohio State started 1896. New York and Boston, 1903. Duke and North Carolina, 1920. We weren't there when they were born, but we have seen them raised and matured on animosity and hostility.
Yeah, so how does a rivalry at its inception look? The answer might come from Ohio. The Columbus Crew and MLS Rookies FC Cincinnati don't like each other. And it's interesting, Matt, because they've never actually faced one another in the MLS and only once ever in a U.S. Open Cup match in 2017, which means today, August 10th, 2019, may go down as the day that the next big rivalry was born.
Today's college football is back in Elle Monday morning. I was on the 7 a.m. And I launched this Taylor road trip with Maria and Holly Rowe, and that was Monday. It's Saturday.
They're still going.
They're still out there somewhere.
You did. It started, I believe, in Oregon on a Sunday,
yeah,
right?
Like they're still they're out there.
Listen, when you get paid to like do your job and travel the country with your best friend, you've got to take full advantage. Holly Rowe, Maria Taylor takes them to Ohio.
This morning, Elle Duncan and Matt Berry counting down our weekend tour with a lot of the same from Patrick Mahomes. And somewhere, Mr. Met is walking around like he just took an entire bottle of Nugenics.
Vitality and drive at a premium in Flushing. Mets fans, as you know, the past two seasons have ended in December for Carson Wentz due to injury. A new season, of course, brings new hope for Wentz to prove himself worthy of that 4-year extension.
A lot of money got paid. Sal Paolantonio reports from Eagles training camp on the...
I am Gary Streisky rocking with you on a Saturday morning. Giants head coach Pat Shurmur has said Eli is his guy. But did Daniel Jones do anything last night to maybe change his mind?
I have to be honest, Triggered Eli is my favorite Eli. Closest recollection of the summer of '69 is a Bryan Adams song, but it was certainly one of the most eventful in American history. The first moon landing in July, and then Woodstock just a month after that.
Meanwhile, our next story was unfolding in the fields of Vietnam. In this, SC Featured, presented by USAA. Tom Rinaldi has the story of a Vietnam veteran and Super Bowl champion. I've been waiting all week for this, Elle.
You have. Typically, they're funny, right? The promotions are about team names or ballpark foods and events or nostalgia, just goofy, whatever, Seinfeld. But this one actually has a bigger purpose.
This year's Copa de la Diversion, or Fun Cup, is the biggest of its kind. The league rolled out.
Good morning. It's me, Elle Duncan. You're watching SportsCenter, and that is Tony Collins.
That's right, Elle. The Mets had been looking pretty good, playing themselves back into the playoff picture, and then yesterday happened. Noah Syndergaard doing something he's never done before. We're going to show you that in just a moment.
But first, we start with the Good Tuesday morning. Speaking of jokes, we are not attempting to start a girl group. We just stalk each other's closets, apparently. Hi,
the most innocent show of the day. Clearly.
Pure as the white driven snow.
So normally Jimmy Garoppolo looks good, right?
Yeah.
On the field. Both. Maybe not the case. In his first game.
Welcome back to SportsCenter. So the Astros unveiled new extended netting at Minute Maid Park last night, a measure that comes after a 2-year-old girl suffered a skull fracture when she was struck by a foul ball there in May. So at 32 feet high, the netting now extends from the end of the dugout into the outfield, making it the second time since 2017 that Houston has extended 150th anniversary of college football. And every day until January 13th, when the national championship is played, we're going to share one personal story from people who've lived it and loved it the most. 5 years ago, though, they were a big deal for all the wrong reasons. Former owner Donald Sterling banned from the NBA when an audio recording of a racist rant was leaked online. It caused an uproar that changed the NBA forever for both owners and players. In the latest season from 30 for 30 podcast, The Sterling Affairs, reported and hosted by ESPN's Ramona Shelburne, is a story of power and scandal.
Welcome to SportsCenter. This is the Monsters of the Midweek. Myself, Elle Duncan. Matt Berry, one frustrated player, is questioning whether the F in NFL stands for flag, why he's so peeved that the league's still ahead.
All right, I'm going to start with the question. What do Elle and I have in common with the Astros? Like Houston for the last 3 years, we keep it 100.
Hey,
see what I did there? Well, I mean, it's time to gear up on a Thursday as the Tulane Green Wave will be wearing an all-blue combination for the first time in school history tonight when they host Houston, 8 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. Pre-game show 7:30 ESPN. Matt, Joey, Jesse. The school sports teams were known as, quote, the olive and blue from 1893 until 1919, and the blue has remained one of the school's colors ever since.
So Tulane.
The Angry Wave. More gear up coming every Saturday morning on SportsCenter, 8:40 a.m. Eastern. Oh, by the way, halftime Tulane Houston. Matt, Joey, and Jesse.
Plug. And what we know about this Bears defense, do you think it's enough to carry Chicago to a title?
Not to a title, not in this day and age in the NFL, but they will get them deep.
See them being as good as that historic Broncos defense a few years ago?
They can. In the middle is Trevathan and Roquan Smith, and then on the back end, the three guys I just mentioned. So find me a hole in the Bears defense, and I'll tell you they can be exploited. There are none. And that's not even talking
Broncos, but the three previous Super Bowl champs, the Patriots twice and the Eagles, both had top 10 offenses and top 10 defenses en route to a title. So while the Bears are looking like they're coming into form offensively, there's another team, Greeny, still looking. Down Jeremy Fowler's notebook, which in 2019 is really just a cell phone. And I want to start with another quarterback who has had about the best start that you can. Dak Prescott, 9 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and the Cowboys are perfect. So what has that meant, his start and his quest for a contract? When you think about it, a few weeks ago, this happens, and you would have said, oh, shut him down for the season. This season is a wash, but there is this renewed energy because of Daniel Jones.
Correct. Reed and Patrick Mahomes are really giving the NFL the middle finger.
Okay.
To do that,
yeah.
That is so rude.
It is.
But amazing at the same time.
It's pretty incredible.
You just went play fake and hit the ball up.
In the NFL. They're playing the Lions this week. He could go full Statue of Liberty play.
Under your butt.
We could see little giants happening on the field potentially on Sunday.
How rude can you be to the rest of the NFL, Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes? Just
hide it behind your bum.
Try and do it at home, guys.
There it is, great.
Mahomes won yesterday on the road without his best stuff.
Yeah, I think I can piggyback off of what Orlovsky said there. Pat Mahomes is in that rarefied air with the 4th and 9 against the Ravens last year across his body where he made what happened to the Lions yesterday.
Just think about it. If you were the Lions going into the game yesterday and you said, hey, you won't allow a touchdown pass to Patrick Mahomes, you go, yeah, we're going to win this game easily, right?
Bingo.
Great players.
More confounding because to their credit, they had a great game, but the Saints not exactly known for their defensive prowess. What areas did the Saints exploit on the Cowboys offense that you think they need to rectify quickly?
Listen, I would say that the Cowboys have had one of the most talked about people in the NFL in the first month, seem to have exposed them. And if you look at the Cowboys' next 4 games, they should be favored in every one of those.
Favored in all of those. And it would appear, right, that Giants would be a shoo-in. However, they're doing big things with the G-men, am I right? Take a look at that's. I think that's pretty good since sacks became a thing. But when you look at this game, right, what stood out to you more? The Bucs putting up 55, which, by the way, was a franchise high, or the Rams giving up 55 to the Bucs?
That was my concern right there. Like, are you kidding me? What happened to this defense? I mean, it's one of the what I noticed, and you're right about that offense. So where's the play action? There is no play action because there's no running game.
If you ask Bruce Arians, it's because his team has total buy-in now, and that's why they hung up 55.
There you go.
So nothing wants to panic. What concerns you the most when you took a look and broke down the tape of that Clemson offense?
Yeah, everyone's pointing the finger to the superstar quarterback, the pretty boy Trevor Lawrence, and going, well, something's wrong with Trevor Lawrence.
Right.
Because of the year he had.
Right now by Mike Tannenbaum and Dan Graziano. How did we get here, Dan, to these unprecedented suspensions?
Well, you just went through it. I mean, it's repeated offenses. This is a player the NFL has talked to in the past, has suspended in the past.
There's a lot of hopeful optimism. Hopefully the 4th time is the charm, the 5th time, the 11th time. Greedy, at some point, you got to wonder, like, who's going to step in? Yeah, before he starts working the phones, Dan Graziano is going to fill us in with some news and notes from around the NFL. I want to start with Chicago. We saw Mitch Trubisky, Bears quarterback, go down with a dislocated shoulder on his non-throwing arm, not expected to need surgery.
If they go from Keenum to McCoy before they ultimately turn to Dwayne Haskins.
So essentially, Greedy, it sounds like they have absolutely no idea what they're doing in the nation's capital.
Yeah.
How did we land here?
Well, you went through it. His history landed him here, and now you're talking about a player that the league has warned multiple times, has fined multiple times, suspended multiple.
Send a clear message if you reduce his suspension.
Well, to Dan's point, it's already a season-long suspension, so if you reduce it by a handful of games, you're sending a massive...
NFLPA is in, Dan Graziano, at this point, right? Because they're having to defend Vontaze Burfict should he appeal. But also their whole point is to keep players safe.
Right. It's a tricky situation.
Present all the players, even if they don't necessarily agree with all their actions, that's the union's responsibility.
Listen, being suspended and losing money certainly hasn't been a deterrent at this point for Burfict, so I'm not really exactly sure what will be, Greeny. Well, I want people to ascribe your play calling as interesting, and that's kind of what we did with Freddie Kitchens the first few weeks. But you saw some interesting wrinkles on Sunday. What stood out to you?
Well, it was the wrinkles and the timing of the wrinkles, and they matter. And it really started with the Ricky Seals-Jones touchdown. So red zone back at the last second. Third down was big. Red zone was big. And there was plays up and down that game that mattered for that Browns offense, but it was the timing of the wrinkle that was huge.
Spears, are you giving the credit to the Browns, or are you saying, like, maybe the Ravens defense just isn't as good as we thought?
I give credit to the Browns.
Okay. Okay.
I like it.
I'm sorry?
I like it.
You like it? So you're all in on that?
The inner voice.
Let's
I
get
like the breakdown. He likes mine.
Yeah, he likes to, yeah.
Cool.
I like when you guys argue. Plenty of argument coming ahead in this next story, Greeny. Of the season, I do want to kind of shift gears when we talk about the Ravens, because the offense, it'll do what it's going to do. But the defense, you look at that game against the Browns alone, a team that was averaging 16 points a game until Sunday and then puts up a 40 ball. Did we overrate how good the Ravens defense is?
I would say this, like, again, sometimes we lose sight of how impactful running the football is.
It's difficult to say, but look, just foundationally and in a nutshell, you almost give up 200 yards rushing, you're probably going to lose every game you play.
Yeah. Like, Pittsburgh, the Packers are balling a little bit on defense because of Zadarius Smith, an ex-Raven. C.J. Mosley.
Very quickly, any concern about Lamar Jackson's side of the ball?
No, my biggest concern with the Ravens is their offensive line right now. There is a distinct difference between when Lamar wants to use play-action pass, their offensive line stands up, and defenses can see that and they don't respect it, versus when they run the football. Their offensive line is down and aggressive. So if they...
Self-awareness, right? Just like what you just said about the Ravens, they did.
So it seems like, Greeny, we kind of started the fatal flaw tilt here. Let's go even bigger picture.
Yeah, but...
With you on your hump day. Hi. You know who else is back? The NBA. We're going to take you inside their first practices and the train off the DAC track. We're going to get Dallas's outlook from a former Cowboy.
DAC track, I'm all in on that. I love playoff baseball because anything can happen.
Wow, it seems like so long ago, but in reality, it was like 6 weeks ago. All week long on SportsCenter AM, we're going to preview the top teams in the NBA with our full court press series. And this morning, Matt, we're going to start with the Golden State Warriors.
All right, so no KD, no Klay Thompson, who was rehabbing his injured knee. And it feels like the dynasty in Oakland could have a hairline fracture. But Draymond and Steph are there to keep the new arena afloat. Here's Nick Friedel.
What struck me in listening to the Nationals after their wild card win over the Brewers last night was how many of them said the same thing. We finally caught a break. And it was surprising because sometimes the guys in the clubhouse try to downplay the idea of curses and jinxes. But as Pedro Gomez details, last night, for the first time with their season on the line, the ball misbounced the Nationals' way.
Started again, Elle Duncan and Matt Berry alongside. Which Jared Goff is going to show up tonight? We're pretty accustomed to which Walker Buehler will show up for the Dodgers as the divisional rounds begin in earnest today. But we did have one more wild card game to settle.
We did. Oakland set a record for most fans at a wild card game, meaning, Matt.
Really?
54th. The Sixers season in came memorably. You must remember, right? Game 7, Kawhi calls ball game, and then Embiid in the tunnel, just devastated. A crushing loss, however, set in motion an active offseason. But as Brian Windhorst details, while there are differences in personnel, Philly, per usual, facing this summer, before Chargers running back Melvin Gordon took a detour with his holdout, he took to confronting his fear of heights with our Sam Alaport. Gordon now has endured 2 major obstacles this year, ziplining through Skull Canyon and a contract impasse with the Chargers. Here's how at least one of those hurdles turned out. Patrick Corbin, and back to him, and the idea that they wanted to use him. He threw 107 pitches on Thursday in his start. Why decide to go in as a reliever just 3 days later?
Well, I understand why the Nationals did this. Their bullpen has... That's the problem, is that their bullpen's been so bad. And again, it worked.
As Rex Ryan so eloquently put, the kid didn't start himself, so you certainly feel bad for that. But there's another game that Tex thinks that people did not go with their baseball gut and instead kind of took an analytical approach. We're going to see what he's talking about coming up when we talk.
A little winky.
Subtle. Crazy subtle there. Okay, listen, I don't want to be knee-jerk here, but after what we saw from Kirk Cousins yesterday, he is the greatest quarterback of this generation. Honestly, though, with all the criticism, I mean, what do you make of what you saw from him?
I mean, it was needed, right? I mean, he should not have to apologize for playing the Giants defense. So it was a good performance by him. They got play action at Giants defense.
Pat, here's the thing. Right?
Really bad.
They're really bad. And like the point is that we always want to anoint the Vikings. Is it okay to say that we don't know if they're any good after beating the Giants?
I think it's very okay to say that about any team this far into the season. And I want to be the first to say that I buried Kirk Cousins just a week.
I want to do absolutely anything to move on in the conversation. So let's move it on.
I don't think there's a reason to panic, right? It's the first loss of the season for the Chiefs, but we started to see a little bit of the luster, some of the veneer coming off the Chiefs week after week. What are some lingering concerns for you?
The biggest concern I would have with this Kansas City Chiefs team is they can't stop the run. And you look at it, 3 games in a row, they've given up over 180 yards rushing.
Not concerned about the Chiefs at all.
But you mentioned Tyreek Hill's not there.
Yeah.
It's hard to play.
Still a close game despite all of the health issues and whatnot. So at the very least, Greeny, we learned that at least for 1 week, Pat Mahomes is human.
That's correct.
Will try to stave elimination today, and they're going to go with their ace to help them do that, that being Max Scherzer. Based on what you saw, what is the key for Scherzer against this particular lineup?
Well, this isn't the Max Scherzer that we all...
Are the Nationals going to force again? That's like a way of not asking for a prediction, but asking for a prediction.
You know, I think they are because it's going to be all hands on...
I would love to see a longer series. We'll certainly see that. We're not done with Mark Teixeira just yet. That's because after this hit on Mason Rudolph, most normal people. With that being said, Tex, based on what you saw from these Yankees, who dominated the entire series, what's their outlook going forward?
I mean, the sky's the limit. I mean, I think this team...
Now tied, they'll play again on Wednesday, but I want to go back to that Zimmerman home run. It was obviously huge and it blew the game open, but you saw something that you liked that led up to that. What did you see?
So the
intrigue. We've got much more text, but let's get back to the NFL, Greeny. Okay, as we're joined by Meg Tan, let's be honest. Some of what Bruce Allen is doing is very public because he's got to bring a coach in. What kind of coach should they be looking for in this search, assuming they're not going to go with Bill Callahan?
They have to get somebody that can maximize Dwayne Haxton's ability, and they may have somebody in the building. Kevin
could actually put on a contract that Dan Snyder would have to be less Dan Snyder-like, and that you'd be able to have that kind of control. Nevertheless, Greeny, it's apparently a fantastic culture that everyone would want to be in. You asked Bruce Allen.
Al, I wish.
And everyone was like, oh, it's done. And Vegas agreed. It's over. The Astros are going to win it. No one can stop them. But based on what you saw in this first series with the Yankees, you think it's potentially a more even match championship series?
Absolutely. If you look at the Yankees, now that they're healthy, now that they have their...
He was like, that is absolutely out. But I do want to talk about something, because we did talk about Dave Martinez, right? And what he did in Game 3 by using Patrick Corbin, and he went super analytical, and it did not work. What tells you that he learned from his mistake based on what you saw last night?
Well, the biggest at-bat of the entire postseason was Ryan Zimmerman's home run.
You do still have that cushion, of course, and an opportunity to take it back to Chavez Ravine. With that being said, we had a debut Greeny yesterday, and it delivered on every single category. It's really fun to pick on Baker Mayfield. He's the most vocal, and we get that. But what I love about you is that when you're trying to ascribe the issues with the Browns, you really do try to look at the tape and see what the issue is. So when you look at the tape, what's the problem for the Browns right now?
Well, really, last night it was Kyle Shanahan for the 49ers was a professor, and Freddie Kitchens was like a substitute teacher. Football team, when we have examples of coaches that are professor-like protecting them.
I love a world where Kyle Shanahan is the wily veteran, like the grizzled vet out of this matchup. And listen, the Browns have never really found their footing. However, the boys in Dallas, Greeny, at some point looked like they had a stranglehold on the league. And then...
Take the hangover of more postseason blues. Elle Duncan and Matt Berry alongside this Thursday morning, which will include the NFL GOAT, the rookie GOAT, and unfortunately for one ace, a playoff GOAT.
Yeah, last night was technically...
Well, Thursday gear up. NC State gearing up with a special military appreciation uniform tonight when the Wolfpack hosts Syracuse, 8 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. College Football Countdown, 7:30 Eastern, ESPN. Matt, Jesse, Joey.
Gear Up Iceberg, because you can catch more unique uniforms on SportsCenter AM every Saturday morning on Gear Up, 8:40 Eastern on ESPN.
Also, halftime's going to be awesome tonight.
I bet.
Matt, Jesse, and Joey.
Watch. Well, we are getting you set because all of the athletes that you just saw were featured in SportsCenter Top 10 this year, a feat that we felt should be memorialized with the athletes in their respective communities. This hour, we want to introduce you to Henry Parrish Jr., a running back out of Miami, committed to play at the next level at Pitt. In the first game of his senior season, Henry dropped 7 defenders in an absolutely electric run that earned him a spot on SportsCenter. That electric run translated into an electric neon sign with his name on it in his high school weight room. Since 2012, the Nets have shared the same city as the Knicks, but certainly not the same headspace for New York basketball purists. The Spike Lees of the world would find even the idea of Brooklyn being the epicenter of New York hoops preposterous. But with 2 huge stars in the ranks, could the other team become the preeminent one? Malika Andrews has more. All of the athletes that you just saw were featured in SportsCenter Top 10 this year. And on 10-10, they were all feats that we felt should be memorialized with the athletes in their communities. So let's go back to February 19th. Marietta, Georgia native Emery Dupes goes above and beyond her volleyball position as a defensive specialist by leaping into the crowd to make a tremendous dig, landing in SportsCenter's Top 10. This dig earned her gold shovels and 2 large banners in her high school gym to commemorate her play.
Yeah, it's all fun and games when you're winning games. Let's bring it back to the Eagles, and let's take a look at the NFC East at large, right? Because you now have Dallas and Philly sitting at 3-3. I mean, I thought this was supposed to be like one of the preeminent divisions in NFL. What do you make of what's happening right now there?
I think the reality is, if we're talking about the Eagles, their season completely hinges on them making a...
Other on Sunday Night Football, too, so there'll be some self-cannibalizing there. But you do have the Giants getting Saquon Barkley back. They're still in the fold as well, and I think that's pretty indicative, Greeny, of how bad the NFC East is. His experience to the conversation, so as we get ready for 3 in the Bronx, what's your biggest takeaway after watching games 1 and 2?
I think the Astros are lucky.
The Astros were the best hitting team in baseball. Do you think that they can keep up with the Yankees?
Well, that's the tough thing about, so you have a really...
We will talk about the other side. Texas hanging out all morning with us here on Get Up. Coming up.
That front 7 for the 49ers, they're legit.
Okay, so you say that because I'm going to speak a little bit to this West Coast bias because there are 2 unbeaten teams remaining in the NFL, and I can say that the Patriots get plenty of attention. The Niners don't. Is it fool's gold here, or how good is this actual
It's not
team?
fool's gold. I can promise you that. Here's what
head coach. The only thing negative is Robbie Gould's performance thus far. He's got a rookie holder. They'll work that out. The 49ers seem to be a legit contender.
You're right, because when we're thinking about the Niners, we're downs.
PR nightmare.
Right? I mean,
PR nightmare.
So what do you find the most problematic about what LeBron said?
There's a lot of things here, Elle. Number one, I've always known Daryl Morey to be very informed when he speaks. Now, he may not have done...
He had a word salad, and he would have done better, because it feels a little bit like he was pressured into... There's been a lot of calls for someone to speak out. He was the first person that chose to do it.
There's that old saying, less is more. Now, if you want to have...
Well, we are certainly going to do the NBA a little bit justice. We're going to talk actual basketball coming up with Jay Will. Now, but the Nationals on the verge of making their first trip to the World Series in over 86 years. And the petty, right, or the casual fan might say, how are the Nationals this good, and yet they got rid of Bryce Harper? And to that you would say...
It's completely unfair.
A game that could be impacted and could impact an entire series. Texas is going to stick around to talk about the ALCS coming up in just a little bit, Greeny.
Going with the Cowboys, how do you think that the Cowboys offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore's experience from college benefited his team yesterday?
Yeah, it showed early, and it was the first 3rd down. I want everyone to see kind of the unique play design that he got into. The defender... We see that play all the time in college football. Very rarely, if ever, have we seen it in the NFL. Awesome job by Kellen Moore.
Okay. Well, we'll see if they can continue the momentum, because it was an offense that looked really good to start the season.
Come on, we're high on Monday morning,
and now here we are back at wondering if they have figured this.
Matt Berry, Elle Duncan. Hi, Wednesday on your SportsCenter. Matt, I don't want to overreact.
No.
But one LA team is going to go 82-0 this season. We've got highlights from Hollywood and the NBA's version of a fall classic in minutes.
It's unlike you not to overreact. 7-day layoff, first ever World Series, no chance the Nationals could...
Live from New York, delighted to have you here. Hope you had a great weekend. What an extraordinary weekend in sports it was. Yesterday was the sports equinox.
Yes.
All 4 major professional sports leagues in action. And oh, by the way, a fellow named Tiger might have stolen the show. All that and more. But we start Game 5 of the World
Equinox yesterday, meaning all 4 major sports were happening on the same day. Here to talk NHL, Jalen Rose. I'm just kidding, Jalen. We're going to talk.
I'm ready for that too.
You ready for
we
that
can talk some Red Wings.
Okay, let's talk wings. No, let's talk about
Gordie Howe, Stevie Yzerman.
Comes to mind as you hear Draymond's comments.
You can't overreact after every game so very early when you're in the...
In both of their games, and the first one's against the Clippers. The Clippers might be the best team in the NBA. You live with that. The Thunder, at least we thought, might be the worst. So how do you explain? And I get it. You don't want to hear Draymond saying that after a game. I understand. Ridiculous rules.
Hey, I'm just saying.
Ridiculous people. Yeah. This team stinks. I mean, Jalen, they are terrible. The Warriors are terrible.
It looks like maybe
I'm not going there yet. I'm not going there yet. I want to see what happens when they get Willie Cauley-Stein back. I need Draymond playing at an all-star level. We'll see.
I'm going to have so many suits from the bets that you and I have at the end of the season.
No, me and you got to bet on the Pelicans.
Yeah, we're going to bet everything.
Are the Pelicans getting into the playoffs?
Yes, they are. My whole wardrobe is going to get turned around. It's got to get Zion back healthy.
Let's give you a little eye candy.
Figuratively, it's never happened to me literally. My entire life has been sort of that athletically, but no, I never actually.
No, this is a television, not a radio. to your face.
Every time my alarm goes off at 4 a.m. to do this show, that's what it feels like. A ball right to the face.
Imagine when the show was 3.
Insider, and Mike Tannenbaum is here as well. I want to go kind of tape to tape on some other names that are percolating right now. Let's start with Bengals receiver A.J. Green. What's the latest? You narrowing in on some specific names, but I want to kind of pose this question to you both. From a treetops view, who do you think is going to be the most active team today?
To me, it's going to be the Cleveland.
To go after Jalen Ramsey there. It certainly didn't work out. He ended up in L.A. Dan Graziano, Mike Tannenbaum breaking down what's going to be an active day we anticipate. Greeny, let's get to officiating of Brian Kelly at Notre Dame.
He's good, not great. He's never going to win a national championship, and the wise move, Elle, for Notre Dame is to buy Brian Kelly out.
Ooh.
Okay.
Going to be a magnet to bring in great players.
I mean, I'm so much bigger than you sitting in this seat.
This isn't Alabama. Like, Notre Dame's notorious for losing the big game even before Brian Kelly got there.
But don't forget, 3 years ago after he had a losing season, play for Brian Kelly and be good and not great when you can go to Clemson, Alabama,
and imagine
all these other schools.
Like, he was
certainly had plenty of time there. He's been there for the better part.
He's been there 10 years.
He's been there for a better
Give him
part.
a gold watch and thank him.
A gold watch and be on your way, and we good.
Oh, he suffered a neck injury during a post-game press conference. Elle, if you would, please.
Here's potentially how it could go down. Center me up. I mean, how I look at it, like, we 2-6, and we finna just not go for. We afraid to lose a game. I mean, we scared to lose a game just because we out here just trying to play scared and everything. Like, no, I don't like it. So
See, now all of a sudden his neck is injured, and that's exactly what happened.
Done for the season.
That's it.
I snapped my neck plenty.
That is how Joe Flacco wound up being out for the year with a neck injury that he suffered.
Can't you see him
during
doing
a press
That
conference.
is how you trainers should show up for your players.
It's Mendoza now. Jess, if the Nats, we have bats. This could go terribly awry. If the Nats are going to force a Game 7 tonight, they will have to do what?
They have to obviously get to Justin Verlander. How do you do that? You do it with him in the first inning. And we got a matchup tonight because it's Steven Strasburg on the other side. When you look at these two pitchers, this feels like a Game 7, Elle. And this is because of the two aces. If you look at Steven Strasburg and what he's done, it's been his changeups. It doesn't matter what pitch, what the count is. That's how they get them.
Jump on them early. We can't just hold bat screeny without.
I'm ready. I'm ready. Yeah.
I'll have you know, Jess, I was an all-regional third baseman. So.
Oh, all right, all right.
You know
Look out,
what I mean?
Verlander. We're coming at you.
And I often played in stilettos, Greeny, so it's apropos.
So did I. Elle, is the neck all right? You doing okay?
I think it's all right, but I could potentially snap next time too.
We'll get
so
him at
I'm
it.
just saying. This what we finna do? This? I mean, damn, he's mad when they lose. He's mad when he's win. Shot. Everybody. What do you make of his harsh criticism post a win?
See, that's what comes with leadership. To whom much is given, much is required. And it's one thing to talk.
Jalen, you're one of the most jovial dudes I know. What was your reaction to hearing that?
I love that very much. And what ends up happening is the top players in the NBA dictate the atmosphere of communication. That's just how it goes. So when I first came
in, Wojnarowski will join us in a minute. Any other night, Matt Berry? That is how we start the show. As we say hi, I'm Elle Duncan. But we also have an NBA big man brawl. We also have the highest scoring game that we've seen in the NBA in many, many years. And we're going to get to all of that soon come.
Yeah, how about Wednesday night, right? So much going on. But when the world's...
All right, we certainly had an interesting fight in what was supposed to just be a battle of undefeateds. Joel Embiid is a well-documented aggravator, in particular needling Karl Anthony Towns. In the preferred NBA way, it's mostly been relegated to petty Instagram jabs. You know, your photos suck and so does your defense. Ooh, exactly. And a lot of times it's barking on the court. But last night, the badgering had Cat throwing some hands. Let's take you there. It's probably because everyone is at CenturyLink as the Sounders prepare to take on Toronto FC. 69,000 strong. Tickets sold out in minutes. And you know who that makes very happy, I imagine? MLS Commissioner Don Garber. Thanks for joining us here.
It does make me happy.
I was going to say, so you find out that in literally less than an hour, a historic amount of tickets have been sold out for your Cup final. And you're thinking what?
I'm thinking in our country.
And you're building so much equity amongst celebrity owners as well.
It speaks to value. You know, MLS teams are...
Let's go macro. Where do you envision this league being in the next decade?
Well, it's going to be a lot bigger. We'll be 30 teams. And well, I think you're going to see the league grow in popularity. we'll be able to have that much more to be able to get excited and passionate about.
And that's the long term. In the short term, you get a rubber match in the MLS Cup Championship. That is about as good as you could ask for. Toronto FC and Seattle, in front of 69,000 strong. Commissioner Garber, thank you so much for joining us. Now Mitchell Trubisky has the dubious honor of having the worst quarterback rating decrease from year to year.
Jeez.
What are you seeing at this point, and why would you go with Chase Daniel at the end of that game?
In that moment, that's the moment you choose to bench the quarterback.
Interesting situation, though, that we should definitely watch GM and head coach potentially battle.
We certainly will. We'll go from an interesting situation to Greeny, one of the more devastating stories. This might be a conversation about Jared Goff, who was also awful in that game. But Dan, what are your thoughts about how they handled Mitchell Trubisky in that game, putting in Chase Daniel instead?
Yeah, it was awful.
Yeah, and that's the funny thing. Here, Matt Nagy, we praised him like crazy. Got Coach of the Year when clearly Anthony Lynn deserved it. But right now, I see a team that lacks confidence. And to me, this was a horrendous decision. You're going
Mitch Trubisky has had the largest decrease in QBR year over year. 34 points it's dropped. Someone is to blame for that. We'll certainly see who is. Let's get to Greeny. One of the biggest, if not the biggest storyline, insider Dan Graziano. What are you hearing about what went down with these workouts over the weekend?
I think the key thing is what went down around the workout, right? The video of him throwing, I don't think is likely to move.
So we had a whole lot of things happen, but essentially almost nothing happened in terms of getting him in, because for some of these coaches who are speaking and saying they feel like they missed an opportunity to see him, he has been looking for gainful employment for 3 years. They certainly know how to call him and how to reach him. All right, let's go from a former quarterback looking for a job to a current quarterback. Well, Dan Graziano has a figurative notebook because nobody carries those things around anymore. So open up the notes section on your iPhone and let's go around the NFL with some news and notes. And we'll start with
him. And all of that will factor into how high they want to take him in the draft. Remember Sam Bradford at Oklahoma got hurt his last year? It still went #1 overall. Not the same injury, obviously, but it's that kind of thing.
I was going to say, and he's certainly, you don't want him to be your poster child for taking a flyer on someone that is injury prone.
Well, he did get his money.
Yeah, he did get his money. Didn't work out well for any of the teams afterwards. It's not working out well right now, Greeny, for Nick Saban either, because the blame game has started.
That's exactly who is the other? Who's got this one? Oh, I'm sorry. This was supposed to be you, Elle. Go ahead, take it.
It's totally fine. We're still caught up on potato salad. Just don't put raisins in it.
Can't you just go to the store and buy potato salad?
Dan Orlovsky was incredibly confident about this. Should Lamar Jackson win? Who was the other person to win MVP before 23?
He's got the long curly lettuce locks, Dan Marino.
You called it a layup too, right?
It's a layup. It's Dan Marino.
It is not. It's Jim Brown, sir, who actually did it twice. He won the MVP award.
No, this is wrong.
It's not wrong.
It's not wrong.
You're wrong. You're wrong. Again, this should be if Lamar Jackson was to take it. Patriots, they're in. They're going to win their division and it's done. But there are real issues. For the first time in a long time, they are winning despite their offense and not winning because of their offense. Why is that, Pat McAfee?
Well, I agree with you there. I think Josh McDaniels and the boy are going to have to figure it out. But their special teams and defense.
Amen.
He's right.
What do you mean?
Well, I look at it.
They asked for this.
Yeah, they asked for it, but so we're going to punish them because they asked for it.
He advocated
Here's the thing
for
that's crazy. How many times? 8%?
Less than 9%.
That's our man, Dan Orlovsky, and you just saw them talk about the controversial decision to not go forward and kick the field goal there. I seem to think they should have set the Mel's in a better position to go for that. You seem to think that the Cowboys did. It's just something the Patriots did better.
The Patriots made that play because they spend all week sharpening their axe, and they know what to do as one unit when they need to the most.
And not pictured there is when they decided to go for it on 4th down. Can you pull that one up? That's right, they didn't go for it on 4th down. They kept it a one-possession touchdown
and
possession game.
Right
no, it wasn't the right decision.
They had the ball
based
with
on
the
what?
chance to
They
win
were
the football game
inside the 8-yard line. That's as close as they've been all night. Okay.
Weren't going to convert. This was the right choice.
They don't convert. They hand the ball back over on down inside the 10-yard line. You put it back on your defense, who played very serviceably, right? And then you get the ball back with better field position so that you can make that game win.
And then you still only you could potentially win the game with the 2-point conversion. You kick the field goal, your defense gets you the ball back, you go down, you score, you win the game over, touchdown.
I have a feeling Stephen A. Smith has some thoughts on this. Real fast, did you notice when Greeny walked in this morning, he wasn't walking so much as he was floating on air? Conversations by saying, if Georgia beats LSU, then the top 4 is done, right? Like if everything goes wrong.
everything's done. Let's assume that they don't, and then there is that other opportunity. Do you think Oregon losing helped Alabama in any way?
Not really. I mean, because it was going to be either Oregon or Utah. That was going to be the one loss. It's going to be hard.
And I understand, and I don't know if we can pull it up, but there's a lot of comparisons being made to, well, Alabama a couple of years ago didn't play in the SEC championship. They were a one-loss team. But these teams are very different, right? Point differential is the same, but back then in 2017, I will also say this. You heard Eric Weddle say he's the fastest guy in the field. It doesn't matter because what he can do with his legs is well documented. But did you know Lamar Jackson leads the league in touchdown passes from the pocket? Dan, how's he doing that?
2 TD, Breeze, and Rodgers. Lamar Jackson is now in the conversation.
What we're watching is historic. Ravens have scored on 56% of their drives, making them the most efficient offense that we've seen in the last 80 years. 80 years. Greeny was just a freshman at Northwestern back then.
I was actually covering those games. All right, let's do either or here. I got
proposals. What do you like the most?
A few things. So load management does not necessarily dictate the number of games that are played in a regular season. Players miss a percentage of the games played. Talking about for a long time that I wish the league adopted.
I was going to say, so a fifth proposal maybe, courtesy of Jalen Rose right here. What do you think of the efforts, though, to change it? Like, what do you think it says about the NBA that they're actually looking at making really systemic changes?
Well, they're paying attention to the product and they understand.
Tax bonuses and other things like that as well.
Absolutely.
Okay, so make it a little bit more personal. Jalen Rose, appreciate you joining us.
Appreciate the love.
Run the floor.
Atomic.
Atomic. That good company to keep? Is that no? That's not good. Conversely, Greeny, Deshaun Watson now has 5 games this season where he's thrown at least 3 passing touchdowns. That is a franchise record. So I pose this question to you, gentlemen: are the Texans a legit AFC top tier team? Dan?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's because of their quarterback. Listen, Deshaun Watson's one of his offense.
I love that you guys both agree because apparently, Greeny, ducks fly together.
Oh, quack, quack, quack!
Yo, we're going to the Steelers.
Let's go to that. Let's go to the Steelers and Browns yesterday.
Your final. It feels like there was a little bit of recency bias, like all the talk's been about the Ravens and how good they've been and whatnot. What do you think the Chiefs stated yesterday with that win?
Well, if their defense is going to get turnovers like that, they're in a different
completion percentage. Knowing from experience is brought to you by Farmers Insurance. Is 29th in the league. Dudes named Josh Allen and Mitchell Trubisky are making more passes to their receivers. Is there something, Dan, that you can show us to illustrate why he's having such a hard time connecting?
Lack of trust between Tom Brady. Away, the relationship becomes broken. Right now, Tom Brady's relationship with his wide receivers is broken.
And look, Dan, the truth is that we're in December. So, Greeny, the question remains, and it really become a big one, especially over the last couple of weeks. What are they supposed to do about it? And is it fixable with who they currently have on the roster? They still are playing for the postseason. The same cannot be said for a couple of other teams that Grazman is going to hit in his news and notes. And let's start in Jacksonville, where we saw Nick Foles get the game. Typically by December, they have somewhat of an identity. They don't, but no one wants triggered Tom. And while the Patriots are undoubtedly streaking towards the playoffs, the same cannot be said for the Patriots of college football, if you will, Greeny.
That's exactly.
Dan and Mike, I pose this question to you. Is this your king, said the Vikings? This your king? This is your guy?
Listen, Kirk Cousins had a really good year. Like, there's no running from that.
We keep distributing the ball. This team is set up where they can win it all because they have a much better defense than the Green Bay Packers, and they can be balanced on offense.
I love that you guys are into numbers right now because I've got another one for you. You compared him to Russell Wilson. They're both making $28 million. Meanwhile, Kirk Cousins, when his team is trailing, is 28th in the league in QBR. Mitch Trubisky, the numbers say, is a guy you'd want under center if you're trying to orchestrate a come-from-behind win over
around him, and he's done a really good job of managing this team.
He is an excellent quarterback when his team is winning. He is 6th in the league in QBR when his team is. That is a huge, significant swing. Speaking of which, let's talk about another one of Dan's favorite topics, Greeny.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, well, Dabo brought Georgia into it, so I will too. They've got the 21st ranked strength of schedule to Clemson's 65. Anyway, go ahead and respond to Dabo. They're saying no one wants them in.
Yeah, I think Dabo Swinney is the most annoying winner in all of sports. I mean, the guy just can't.
Back's playing the best. Their defense is playing the best.
If that's the case, then Paul, then again, we all expect it's going to be a rout. But if that's the case, and they pass the eye test, then how would they be kept out of the playoffs should they stumble?
Because they haven't played anyone. And Dan's correct. That's not really Dabo's fault. And you will not have a problem finding a ticket Saturday night in Charlotte, I promise you.
Yeah, I imagine that it won't be a sellout, but we'll certainly see. Also, Georgia beat 4 ranked opponents this year.
Where'd you go to school?
I didn't go to Georgia. I'm just a Georgia fan, like most Georgia fans that have never went to Georgia.
Stephen
Your
A. gets up
reaction.
this early? I didn't know that.
He has a show coming up.
I forgot.
Yeah. What do you make of his comments, and do you want to back down from?
Here's what troubles me about Stephen A. Nick Saban invited him down.
Nick Saban is the king lion. There's a bunch of other lions coming for his top spot.
If you study history, which I know you did at UConn, you find that dynasties like this slowly come to they slowly begin to dissipate, and then suddenly they fall off a cliff. Nick Saban is still the best coach of all time, but I don't think his program is in a position right now to dominate. And one more thing, Dan, the transfer portal, I think that is Nick Saban's biggest enemy.
Okay, I'm less of a Lions fan and more of a Tiger. So let's bring in Marcus Spears, our resident Tiger. What do you think? Do you agree with Paul or with Dan? Yeah, and I also believe that maybe like the fear factor is gone, right? Like a lot of people would grip when they would play Alabama, and now people are playing them and punching them in the mouth.
Careful with that.
Okay.
I think it's a little bit like Tiger in golf. I mean, we expect him to win.
At Sports Center commercials and anchors, the great Stuart Scott. More on that coming up in just a bit. Good morning. Elle Duncan and Matt Berry helping you wake up on a Wednesday. I can't wait to watch that Harden highlight.
Okay.
It's phenomenal. What do the penultimate rankings tell us in college football? And we're going to head to the Bahamas.
Like we're going there?
No, it's not in the budget. We're going to go to the great state of Texas first.
We are.
Coming up, good morning. Elle Duncan and Matt Berry helping you wake up on a Wednesday. And I can't wait to watch that Harden highlight again.
Oh, it's coming.
What a remarkable game. What do the penultimate college rankings tell us? And we're going to head to the Bahamas.
We're going to the Bahamas?
No, we weren't invited.
Oh.
But we can go to the great state of Texas.
We challenge with you. Another #1 goes down in college hoops, and the #1 quarterback in the NFL says he's good to go. But first, how much did the Yankees spend for their new #1?
Well, put it this way, the Yankees decided to make it a blockbuster night. Hey, look who's here. She plays in the WNBA. She talks NBA. Janaea Gwumake.
In the house?
Listen, we are out to prove, or at least the Mavs are, that they are not. They were chanting MVP. I'm pretty sure that means Taco Fall is now the new Brian Scalabrine, right?
much.
Like he's the
new
fan favorite. He's
Yep.
basically the human form of a victory formation. Janaea Gwumake, thanks for joining us all
Always.
here on Sports. Behind the Lakers, so fear not. You still have that ahead. Also ahead, just when you thought Lamar Jackson had done it all, he helps the Ravens achieve something they've never done before. And are his shoulders big enough? How will Kirk Cousins handle the pressure of the Green Bay defense and facing against Aaron Rodgers tonight? Plus, why Lizzo and The Truth Hurts has both Packers and Vikings fans wondering who is she really talking about. Carrie, we're going to sip some tea coming up.
Set is here on Sports Center. Oh, and they have the jazzy music. Look at our hot chocolate on.
Hi, you're getting the Alphabet Sports Center, L and J. We're going to hear from LSU quarterback Joe Burrow for the first time since landing in the ATL as the #1 team in the land prepares for the Peach Bowl. But, Jay, I think we should start in a fitting place for this time of the year, the North.
Yes, playoff.
As Joe Burrow, Justin Fields, Jalen Hurts prepare for the college football playoff, they all have 2 goals in mind: get to New Orleans and win the national championship. 3 quarterbacks with a chance at redemption, and that all comes courtesy of the transfer portal. Canadian of you.
That's right. Hey.
As Joe Burrow, Justin Fields, and Jalen Hurts prepare for the college football playoff, they all have 2 goals in mind. And that's obviously to get to New Orleans and win the national championship. 3 quarterbacks with a chance of redemption, and that all comes courtesy of the transfer portal.
Out your top plays. All right, we're going to promote this for the next 2 days.
Okay.
Coming up Sunday after the show, we're going to fly to Santa Clara. We will be a part of the Blimp cast.
Yes.
On the Mega Cast at the national championship.
Yes, you can find it on the ESPN app. We have been told we will be on there for 8 hours.
Together. You know what's going to be fun? That.
That's one way to describe
8
it.
hours. Nicole and Jay next. The Ball Mega Cast can be seen on the ESPN app. And what can be seen there, Elle?
The Blimp Cast featuring Matt Berry and myself. We will be coming to you live from the Goodyear Blimp for the duration of the show.
Here it comes. Look at the blimp right there, right above us.
There he goes.
We're going to be in there for
That'll
8
be
hours.
us.
What could go wrong?
Oh, my God.
Anna and Jay coming up next.
Pray for it.
Something that this guy is still funny, even though Andrew Luck is actually relevant, right? Like, this was kind of born from, like, it being like, Andrew Luck.
This is faux Pelini territory. It's good. Sports Center coming up for another hour, then NFL Countdown. Enjoy the playoff football.
Enact what happened when I just said Philly special.
I can't wait to see it again. It's going to be great.
We've got to come up with another.
No, here's what I'll say about that. It was a remarkable play in the Super Bowl, but the play had been done before.
Correct. We just didn't have a cool
It had been
name.
executed before.
We didn't have a.
Who wins today?
I'm going to go Eagles.
Yeah.
Chargers.
Saints, Chargers.
Saints, Chargers. Okay, we both have the Chargers.
No Patriots for us. More Sports Center next. Boy, are people going to take to the Twitter machine to correct us about everything.
Oh, 100%. Can't wait for it. I'll just Euro step on the haters.
Billy Ho. Me, not you. What will he participate in?
Will he throw? Will he not throw?
I don't think it's going to matter once they do the height. That's the big one.
Is he going to come in at 5'9", or are you going to cheat that thing? He's 6'3".
Yeah, we'll find out.
More Sports Center with Nicole and Jay right now.
Having a Pro Bowl party today.
Are you?
Yeah.
And what are you going to be?
I use it to rehearse for the Super Bowl party.
Oh, is that what you?
Yeah.
So who do you have, NFC or AFC?
It's anybody's game. Throw the records out.
Yeah, especially when it's something as competitive as the Pro Bowl, when the stakes are as high.
Yeah, I agree.
Sports Center with Hannah Storm and Jay Harris right now.
And for the Super Bowl.
Tomorrow.
Now, let me ask you this, because I think that once this is preparation week.
Right.
Once you get down to the Super Bowl site, it's all kind of stuff. Too early to go down?
I don't think it's too early to go down. I mean, listen, for the Patriots, they've been here before. This is par for the course for them. For the Rams, they're staying downtown. I'm interested to see if there'll be some distraction.
If you would like the entire itinerary
Tweet
of each
me.
team in Atlanta, check her Twitter. She got sent their TripIt.
Don't call it Hotlanta ever. Thank you. Yeah. Harder to hit a half-court shot underhanded.
I think so, too.
100%.
Because you don't have the strength.
Yeah, you can't put your, like,
Also, that's
diaphragm
probably
into it.
how I shoot, so that's what I'm going to say. Of course, it's harder that way.
Coming up, more Sports Center with Matt Barry and Hannah. He got to sleep in today.
What was that? To go, Jay. Spencer, congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations to Jay. Good stuff. That's going to do it for us. But over on ESPN, Sports Center continues. Hannah Storm, and a big day for Randy Scott. He's on the mothership today.
They're friends, believe it or not.
Be good for him.
They really like each other. Draws their energy from the sun. That's what you're saying.
I would love to see your Google search history just from this program today.
We've learned a lot today. We have been debating for the last 2 hours if irregardless is a word. I say no, it is not a word. He says that it is a word.
We are going home, but irregardless, Sports Center continues with Nicole Briscoe and Jay Harris. They'll take you live to the NFL Combine. It is quarterback day.
Yeah.
That program also on ABC, 1 o'clock, good Combine coverage.
Yeah, we had a fun time, but their show will be funner. And it is coming right now.
Hey, you know what? It's time for yams.
No, stop with yams!
To do with being able to read the promo than it does just knowing our programming on Sundays.
I'm like, what does that say?
Hey, Bryce Harper on the field for the first
wow.
time as a member of the Phillies. Yeah, they're going to have that over on ESPN with Randy and Jay.
Okay, so make sure to tune in and check them out.
It's going to be good.
Yeah.
Batting practice.
Can't wait to see it.
UFC. They're basically just going to review the show we did for 3 hours.
You're welcome.
But on ESPN.
With our scripts. Your antics, I alone love you.
You know what I can tell you based on the schedule of sports we have today? I'm just going to be a black hole sun watching all of the sports. That is Elle. I am Matt. Jay and Tony coming up next on a busy Saturday in sports.
You're welcome, America.
You got to keep us separated.
For real.
Top play from Saturday.
Pretty good.
Hey, coming up next, Serie A soccer over on ESPN. More on the breaking news of Antonio Brown.
Yes, in case you haven't heard, he is now a Raider. You'll hear it again. Go to ESPN. Here at 4.
7 to 10 a.m.
Some of us will be here at 4.
Some of us leave an hour early for makeup. Is there anything else that's by the way, any pharmacist out there today, if she's trying to come get stuff that's over the counter?
I'm all set. I don't need penicillin. Been married for years. I'm all set in that department. We've got more Sports Center coming right now. Did you hear? Zion was back.
Interesting.
And look what happened.
Jay and Tony. To St. Patty's Day thing.
I guess what everybody else's is, right? Little Baileys in your coffee. Yeah, what about yours?
Good cover for not knowing the answer. Serie A's coming up next.
What's yours?
Vegas.
That's not even that's not a St. Patty's Day
on ESPN.
What?
Barry on vacation in an attempt to wake him up. Question, is it early enough?
He's coming from Vegas, so he probably never went to sleep.
That's my point.
He never went to bed. Guaranteed. He's probably at Hyde right now watching us.
Sports Center continues. It's Hannah Storm. It's Jay Harris. They've got you the rest of the way.
Bye.
They'll be alive out of the Sweet 16.
Any bold predictions for today's action?
I'm with Jay Billis, who he was talking about earlier, where there's just a lot of chalk we saw yesterday.
Okay.
Typically, look, you're going to have a 12 or a 13 advance in UC, Irvine, and Oregon, so you're going to get an underdog there. But for the most part, I like a lot of the chalk today.
Over, under, amount of time Zion dunks on Taco, 3.
Under.
You're going to take the under.
Yeah,
All right,
I don't think
I'll
he's
take
going to
the
get.
over.
I'm going to go with Coach in that one. I don't think they run.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's what we think. Hannah Storm, Jay Harris over on ESPN, E60 coming to you right now. We're out.
Tech, Gonzaga.
I had the Zags winning that one.
I kind of like the Zags now all the way. My bracket's done.
Yeah, but that's because you picked who to win the national
I
championship?
take North Carolina.
Who's not in the national championship anymore?
North Carolina's been eliminated.
My people are still alive. I believe you roasted me. Way to go out on a limb and pick Duke. Well, I'm still in it for now.
I'll take the ball back. More Sports Center. Jay and Hannah coming up next. Have a good weekend.
For now.
Jeremy Shepp and Lisa Salter's going to be on that program.
Yeah, so we're going to go enjoy the tournament for now. On ESPN2, Hannah Storm, Jay Harris with more. Jay Billis right off the top of the show.
You look at the numbers. I mean, he's averaging a triple-double.
Yeah.
He does special. He gets his shot volume, though.
He certainly
Russ
does.
gets his money's worth.
Kobe did, too. So you're off to God's country.
I am off to Augusta.
Okay, you were leaving for Augusta. Matt will be doing our Masters coverage all week long.
Look forward to it.
Looking forward to that as well.
You know what's not going to happen there?
What?
Ice in April.
That's true.
It's going to be nice.
Nice and warm.
Hannah Storm, Jay Harris coming up next. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday.
Going to step aside, hand things over to Hannah Storm and Jay Harris over on ESPN.
Correct.
Following us on ESPN2 is the E60 we've been talking about.
Yes, Forever Broncos right here. Sports Center over on ESPN.
With Hannah, Jay, and Chanae, they're going to talk basketball, not salmon.
Will. Yeah. We'll save the fishing for us.
Beach volleyball championships.
Hey, keep talking. We're going to be covering the Iditarod before you know it.
I mean, I'm wearing an Asparagus jersey, so here we are. Jay and Hannah with much more in the history of last night in the NBA playoffs coming up top of the hour. We'll see you tomorrow. What's your go-to like Cinco de Mayo dish? Like, what's your favorite one?
You know what? I'm easy. I am a guacamole and cheese dip girl.
I don't like queso dip.
You don't like queso?
No, because when it gets dry, there's that film on the top.
That's true. It is gross. You just have to keep stirring it.
Yeah, but still.
It's just the
And then anything with a Pacifico, I'm yours.
Oh, nice. You're not a Tecate guy?
I mean, I don't judge. Dos Equis, Pacifico.
Is it what? It's a beer?
Yeah.
Take it.
That's Elle on that. Hannah and Nicole next. Have a good Sunday.
Speaking of giving her a hug, hug your moms. Happy Mother's Day to you.
Happy
Don't forget
Mother's
to call her. Oh, there's our moms.
Hi, Lee. Hi. Oh, no, that's not my mom. That's my daughter. Okay, who wins tonight?
See, I knew you were going to ask that, and I wanted to have a really good answer. I think there's going to be an upset. I think it's going to be Baratheon.
Oh, that's cute. You thought I meant Game of Thrones. I was talking about the actual game.
Oh,
I wasn't.
please, come on.
I'm going Tyrion. Tyrion Lannister.
By the way, College Game Day of Thrones live from Winterfell tonight. Just kidding. Sports Center over on A1. For you from the French Open, Naomi Osaka, top seed, just bounced. Just upset.
She's out.
More of that coming up on top of the hour, the next Sports Center.
Yeah, she will get to retain, though, her #1 overall ranking.
Now I kind of want chicken and biscuits after the show.
A little chicken and biscuits?
Yeah.
But I know where you're going to go to get them, though, and it's not home style in any way.
It's not? No, it's not. Their show, I presume they're going to talk about Game 2 of the NBA Finals over on ESPN.
I have a feeling.
Bruce Bowen's here.
Yep.
Not only does he manscape, he's got the shiny fingernails.
He's got the prettiest fingernails that you have
Here comes
ever
Jay. Jay,
seen
come
in your
say hi and
life.
bye at the same time.
Hi.
Hi, Jay.
Hi.
Do you manscape?
Tomorrow, Prince was a great basketball player, by
He
the way.
was.
Hoop. So we're going to get into that coming up tomorrow on the 12 p.m. Eastern edition of Sports Center.
And if not for Dave Chappelle telling us how good he was, we would never get game blouses. OTL is next.
That's how you want to end it?
Of dad jokes coming your way.
Jay and Hannah coming up at the top of the hour.
Jay loves it.
Yeah, much more coming on Anthony Davis. They've decided when the trade's going to be consummated, and that is big for several reasons.
Yes.
Favors the Pelicans. Ward Janowski is going to have much more on that, plus a busy day in baseball and a College World Series coming up, and the final of the U.S. Open. But, I mean...
So we go out on a dad joke note?
Yeah, please, go ahead.
Well, you wanted me to go. I mean, I had, like, a joke about construction, but I'm still working on it. So, what about you?
I do want to get serious for a second. Like, my dad was addicted to hokey pokey, and then he turned himself around. And that's what it's all about.
How the field's getting to watch how the fans react to him, right?
It's so crazy because, like, we see that kind of reaction when someone is shipped out. He chose to leave, and nevertheless, they still love him so much there in the loop. We've got more Sports Center right now on ESPN with Hannah and Jay. They got Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. That conversation continues right now. Jay Harris and Jen Latta with more on a huge NBA night.
Like, peace, bye, out. After 3 hours, I would take a little bit of that, right? So we've got a lot coming up here.
Yeah.
Actually, rather over on ESPN. We're on ESPN2 right now.
E60's coming up right here, but what do we have over on ESPN?
Well, it's Championship Sunday, and we're going to have a fresh Sports Center with Jay Harris and Jen Latta. The women are trying to win another final. They start all the action today, and Julie Foudy is there with a couple of 99ers.
Here's some other good news, because we were wondering, Megan Rapinoe, Rose Lavelle, both in the starting 11. They were dealing with hamstring injuries in the last round, but it looks like they are good to go, and they will start tonight.
All right, we're done here. We're going to send you over to ESPN with Jay Harris and Jen Latta for Ellen, Tony. Bye.
Bye. To the same charities that Burt Reynolds supported, the Lansing Performing Arts. Can I just say, in the last hour, our minor league promotion was Friends, and us both being 90s babies, we were just rattling off references left and right. And I'm over here trying to think of a single Smokey and the Bandit reference.
Can't do it.
And I'm coming up totally blank.
Yeah, I'm going to say I didn't Wikipedia what I should have before the show.
We probably should have Googled it, right? Like we're huge Burt Reynolds fans. That's not what we do here. What we're about to do is get out of the way. Sports Center continues next with Hannah Storm and Antonietta Collins right here on ESPN. They've got some wild games in baseball to show you. Because you can typically find what we just did in the bottom of a litter box. So well done. Yes. There you go. What a great way to segue to Hannah Storm and Jay Harris.
Jay and Hannah, you're perfect.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, let them have it.
Yeah.
I'm going to hand the ball off to
the ESPN app as well. If you're
This is our third hour of television on the weekend. At this point, punt.
My favorite's when we workshop things live on television. What is it with the white stripes and the what was that one thing that they were married but they were friends?
You know what? That's typically when a producer will get in here and help you out.
It's radio silence.
That's Elle. I'm Matt. Hannah and Jay coming up next. The latest on Antonio Brown. What does this mean for his future? That and more coming up next on ESPN. That's it for us, right?
Yeah, thankfully.
Good.
Still no one has answered for me because they told us to pick our favorite half of the
let me get mine.
No one answered. Are they going to go by like the muertos? Is this Dia de los Muertos?
I saw that hat and I was like, I watched Coco.
Okay.
And then I'm very on brand. Okay. This looked like Mike Wazowski.
All right.
I'm just saying.
Is that your first introduction to the Day of the Dead? Was Coco?
Yeah.
From a couple years ago?
That movie made me cry. Don't talk about it, Elle.
Okay, all right. Hannah Storm and Jay Harris, the grown-ups in the room,
movie.
are coming up. Oh my God.
That's how bicycle kick works. He's like the way that he jumped and then did a thing with his leg. And
is that how you think he did it? Just straight, no.
No, I think he did it a different way, but I'm wearing a dress, Gary, and that's not exactly safe for work. We're going to get out of the way because Little League World Series action from Williamsport coming up right now, South Korea and Curacao. Over on ESPN2, Hannah Storm, Jay Harris with much more Sports Center. Striker. Bye.
Do you want to talk first, or?
No.
You ashamed? Why would they? 30 seconds!
Oh, man. Talk about timing gone bad. Do you have any more jokes you want to get in?
Let's see.
Oh, look at the background.
What did My Little Pony go as for Halloween?
What?
A nightmare. Let's see.
I'm sure Greenberg's going to have all the Halloween jokes coming up next on Get Up. What's next for the Warriors, please?
What's a witch's favorite lesson at school?
What?
Spelling.
All right.
Once in a while, a Christmas accidentally pop in.
It does, because that's my youth, you know.
One of my favorite songs is a Christmas song by Quad City DJs, and it's like, what you wanna get her for Christmas?
For Christmas.
Yeah, Christmas.
Yeah. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night. Oh no.
So you ain't gonna get one of those rings. Let me go ahead and slide you one of these. This should hold you over. But the ring is no indication of everlasting love. It's the matching pajamas.
Oh, the striped
is.
pajamas, yeah?
You have to.
Do you and your girlfriend have matching pajamas?
No, we don't.
Yeah.
I need to make that next on the list.
Well, I think she'd probably prefer a ring, Gary, but sure, the matching pajamas I'm sure will suffice. Merry Christmas, everybody. Seriously, what's taking you so long?